volunteers in here as well.
It's good to be here. I went through the agenda and yes, it's a lot to cover.
Yeah, there's, you'll find that they're not always so tight, and but we're looking to always bring new ideas and certainly to embrace the tourism aspect of our initiatives for the upcoming year. So, has everyone had a chance to leaf through the agenda? So, can we have do we have any late?
No, I've got everything in here.
Okay.
Have you given her yourself, so it should have been. Okay, thank you. This is Wendy Coe.
Okay.
Hi Wendy, sorry about that.
Good morning.
Hi.
Good morning.
We got a big group here. This is Wendy Coe from the province. We got a new member, Jody Lorenz from Tourism Bowen Island as well.
Hi Wendy, we've talked in the past a couple of times.
Hi there. Good morning, Jody.
Morning, Wendy. Okay, so do you have a motion to approve the agenda?
So
Ed?
I approve.
Yeah, you approve. And all in favor?
We're out of practice.
is Jody
Yeah. Sorry, do you want to move up the table? Is that?
Do you know everybody?
Oh, do you know everyone? Yeah.
Maybe a quick, just a
That
reminder.
would be-
I think
that would be a
I've
good
talked to
idea.
everybody for sure, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
Wolfgang,
Yeah.
not formally, but in the street and all that stuff, yeah, I'm joking.
Natasha Vaz.
And we've talked once before at one of the business forums, I think, yeah.
Sounds like yeah.
Then I know everybody else.
Yeah, so
I know everybody.
Rod,
Yeah.
Ed, Bonnie, Allison, and Helen. Okay. Yes, so we look forward to touching base, and we do occasionally try to meet. We haven't recently, but a social kind of get together and gathering. It's a little tight before the holiday season at this point, so we'll think about that in the new year. So adoption of the minutes from our November 1st meeting. And just a quick refresh for everyone that because of the Rural Economic Forum, we had 2 meetings almost back to back, one very early in November, so we could do it before the forum and other commitments. So that was a bit of a compressed agenda, but we had a chance to look over those.
Fairly lengthy minutes for a compressed agenda. Well, I wasn't there, so I can't
Okay.
comment.
I read over them, but it was over a month and, or I think it was 6 weeks ago. So I didn't have anything that stood out. I think I maybe gave you feedback stuff, but so I'll move to approve the minutes of the last meeting. All in favor? Okay. Okay, public comments. We don't have any public comments, it looks like, this morning. Which we've got the updates moved up earlier already, so that's fine, yes. Okay, so Daniel, I guess you're next on our list. First on our list.
Thank you for having me, and I'll try to keep it just a brief overview and then open for any comments. So this is a rezoning application that this committee has seen before. So this is the rezoning application of the Bowen Island Marina.
So that was in the November 1st meeting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't remember offhand, but yes. And so what it was, at the time it was introduced to council as the application. So council had seen the application, referred it to the committee for initial comments. And since then it's come back to council, and council's given readings to a bylaw that would adopt the changes. So now really I'm coming back to to this committee and to the rounds of committees to confirm that, okay, what we've put in the bylaw, what council's put in the bylaw matches what the Economic Development Committee had wanted to see happen with this application. But I'll give you a quick overview just of the application itself as a reminder. So this is the Bowen Island Marina. It's located, its address is on Cardena, but it's immediately next to the ferry terminal. So this is it, with some retail on the pier, and the property itself also has this residential component with a house with 2 secondary suites inside it. So as in here, so part of it is in this commercial zone, that's the pier portion, and then this residential portion on the top part of the property. And so the proposal is in essence the owners of the marina And the new owners are looking for a rezoning that would bring existing things that don't match the current zoning into compliance. So they're looking to allow an additional secondary suite in a single-family home. They're looking to permit the existing buildings that are on the property that were done after the last development permit was issued. And they're looking to amend their use definition to permit the eating establishments to contain designated seating within the establishments. And so this is, when council saw it, they referred it out to a series of committees. So to the Housing Advisory Committee, who recommend council support it, looking just at the secondary suite piece of it. They referred it to your committee, and you recommended council proceed with it, and your comment was increased floor space ratio considered in order to enable installation of a public washroom on the property. And we also referred to the Advisory Planning Commission, who also recommended council proceed with the rezoning application. And their comments about the commercial zoning was that they supported additional development in the area, and they supported removing the restriction on the takeout food and the seating piece of it. So based on that, staff had drafted a bylaw that came to council, and council gave first reading to at their late November meeting, I believe. I cast my mind back. So the bylaw would make 4 amendments. It would amend this definition that they have on their property for land-based and marina facilities, which currently says it's about takeout food, and so the highlighted words are added, so it would say with incidental seating areas for consumption on the premise, which would allow the food establishments to have seating there so people can actually sit and eat there. Yeah.
I have questions as we're going along.
Yeah.
Because I'm incidental versus related. Incidental doesn't, I'm not sure what it means in that context.
Not too many?
Yeah, I mean, it's trying to be essentially limited seating.
Okay.
Yeah. But
So
what
you're
does
not
that
actually
mean? Does it
making a
mean-
number?
Yeah, incidental is sort of
Yeah.
maybe somebody just pulls up a chair sort of thing
Right,
versus
yeah.
them providing a few.
Yeah.
Tables, yeah.
Does it mean that there would
There's
be
similar
available
wording for
time?
the village baker in
Yeah.
this village grill bylaw there is, because that, they're not allowed a huge amount of seating.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe it was
We
limited.
can look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in regards to seating, this is inside and outside, or is that clear? Because
Yeah, so we had discussions before with them about, because so there's always been seating, well, always, since I've been here,
Yeah.
seating with the picnic tables,
Yeah.
like on the far side, that's like open to the public.
Yeah.
And then the issue then came up, so one is like seating within it, seating on the decks, or
Yeah.
seating within for the what's now the taco place has got
Yeah.
the sort of the fenced
Yeah.
seating area, and is that still takeout if it's like sort of fenced in and associated with the business?
Yeah.
Was that included or not, like what is it, public seating versus seating for the establishment?
Yeah.
And so we'd like to say, well, no, it's permitted to have that seating.
Well, I also think like that seating out there is really important for people who are waiting for food and maybe have like mobility issues
Yeah.
as well too, that maybe can't, it's painful
Right.
for them to stand for the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's something to consider as well too.
So premises includes the building and the fenced area
Yeah.
around, and in the case of the, tell your friends, they've got a few little tables right in front.
Yeah, they do,
Yeah.
with,
Yeah.
with the stools,
With
right?
the
Yeah.
students,
Yeah, so I would consider that as sort of part of the,
Okay.
like, captured for it.
Now
So,
s-
because before we were having a discussion about, does it just have to be like, would they have to unfence it and just make it like, so it's public seating, it's for
Yeah.
everyone and really clear, it's not
For
with the
them.
business. And even though I think we ended up, when they put it, as the rezoning was going on, they now signed that it's like, it's available for the public. And that was sort of what we worked out with them while the rezoning was going on, to be clear that you didn't have to be buying food, but you can come and sit there too if you want to.
And so is the seating going to be there all the time then, or have they got to take it away, like when they're, because some of the businesses aren't open all the year round, are they?
Yeah,
but that's their choice.
yeah.
Well,
wouldn't
that's
hurt,
what I'm
yeah.
wondering.
But
If
that's
it-
their
but if it's-
premises.
If they're turning it into public seating though,
Well, they may want to wintertime, to save the tables and chairs and have them not get
Yeah.
trashed. Put
Yeah.
them aside. And the picnic tables aren't going away.
no.
and
Well,
washroom.
then,
So I'm wondering, how many, are they gonna specify how many washrooms are required there?
No, so there is one, that's one of the building issues that they put the washroom on the side. In a new building, sort of an out extension of the Tell Your Friends cafe, there's a washroom there now, that we're gonna require, like, building permit. Mhm. I think it's been a surprise for everyone as I come through, there's a washroom. So if you're looking to Tell Your Friends on your right, Yeah, as you look at the storefront, it's on the right side of the building.
Oh.
There's a washroom there.
That's what we said.
Tell your friends.
That's what we said. Tell your friends
Yeah.
about this bathroom, just your friends.
So, okay, so the washroom's already there is what you're saying, and there's not gonna be any additional washrooms?
That's not, yeah, not proposed for them to build.
But it's
a
not,
washroom.
all this is doing is allowing washrooms to be there.
No, that's why I understand this, I
Yes.
just wanted to clarify, so this is to make them in compliance, he said, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
For the, but if we wanted washrooms,
Yeah, that's
I
what I'm
guess
just
that's
wondering,
as a condition of the rezoning,
an extra washroom.
The public washroom.
should we,
Yeah.
and that's not anything that goes in the bylaw, that's
Liaison.
that's council
Yeah.
would sort of say, you know,
Yeah.
as a condition of this rezoning,
Yeah.
we'd like you
Have another one.
to have a proper
Yeah,
public handicapped washroom.
yeah.
Yeah. 'Cause
You
there's-
Or to, I guess, convert the existing one so that it serves that function.
But I don't, yeah,
Yeah, we'd have to look at, like, when I get there, one of the conditions council's put on it is a code review of those buildings and one of the things would be washrooms, and at a certain point, they're triggered. Anyways, food establishments with seating, at
The
a
two
certain point,
restaurants had to have
you
the
need to
restaurant,
provide
yeah.
bathrooms.
Yeah.
But also the kayaking is there.
but
and
that shouldn't be
people-
on the hook of the restaurants.
No, but I'm saying there's a
That should be
huge
on the
need
hook
there
of the
because
owner.
people change, which I think Brent has got
Right.
covered. But then what do you do before you get into
Yeah.
kayak?
Yeah.
And you have a group of 80 people, like, it's not that, one washroom?
Okay, so maybe we shouldn't get too far into the discussion of that,
Okay.
because as Daniel said, it is part of the code. And I think just in my recollection of our previous discussion, the reason why we recommended that we thought as a committee that additional washroom floor space ratio could be adjusted in the future was, you know, saying, putting in there, suggesting that washrooms would be something that we would really recommend. So we've made that recommendation. We should maybe just reiterate that recommendation, that the more washrooms, the better. And I think that's
Or
what
do you
we
want to
can-
reiterate it that council should request a proper public washroom?
Well, I
As
would
part
put,
of the rezoning package.
yeah, I would put out that they're trying to just come into compliance, and when the fellow from the, you know, the representing the property owners was here, you know, he was pretty clear that this is just to try to come what they've got under compliance. I don't know if we want to stop them from just getting complied. What we want to do is if they want to do any further development, when hopefully they do, then definitely, you know, council should consider washrooms at that point as a requirement. Does that make sense to people?
Makes sense to me.
I think so, because they do actually have a washroom, so.
Is that,
I said, but don't tell anybody about the
but
bathroom.
yeah, don't tell me.
I think so, that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
so,
I guess I was just raising it because there's, thinking of the library and the little blue cottage and stuff. The public comes in and uses those, but 80 people coming and using the pier for one single washroom that the two restaurants had to put in for their patrons puts a lot more cleaning onus on them than everything
I'm
else.
sure,
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying, do we want a proper public washroom?
I think we do, absolutely.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, but
We'll further
whether,
down the line.
whether we want to suggest that council stops them from coming under compliance in
No,
this
I don't
request,
think so.
you know, to get a washroom, is it?
But there are washrooms right there.
The
Yeah.
very
Yes.
washroom is there.
Yeah,
There's only one toilet on each side, and the use that those gets, it's very common, particularly on a busy summer day, for them to break.
Yeah.
And then there's no washrooms.
We are on the list for a new waiting room facility from BC Fairs.
And I
They've
hope
actually,
there would be lots of
we're
wash-
starting the planning, I think, coming up, so that hopefully will solve some of those problems.
Mhm.
I think the last estimate was 2021.
Yeah, because they go through a whole planning process and then construction, so, but at least we're on the list.
Okay.
Okay.
So the second change the bylaw makes is about that house with the two secondary suites. So it says, creates a new zone variation that would allow two secondary suites on a lot. The third one then is looking at the village commercial. So where currently the zoning just says you're only allowed, it allows quite a large floor space ratio and lot coverage. But then it says you're only allowed the buildings that are in this DP that was issued in 95 or an older DP that was issued in 89. It's essentially the three huts. So the taco place, the Tell Your Friends, and the kayak shed. And it says N1 busy build. That's what you're allowed to build. So this would replace it with a total floor space area and a total water coverage. And so it's in the council report how much more it is. Essentially, it's what's there now plus a bit more. So it's about the size of one of the, if you think about the like the taco building itself, it's about that much more that's permitted in the floor space ratio or in the floor space area than is currently on the site. So saying there's some room if, and in particular everything if the code compliance comes back and says, well, you need to do something, you need more separation, you need to reconfigure it, but there's some latitude there for them to tweak the buildings on the area, knowing that they would still need a development permit for any developments. There'd be some control on the form and character of it, but it allows some flexibility within the zoning.
Is that big enough to allow a proper public washroom? Male,
Yeah.
female, handicapped access?
I mean, it would be as big as like the BC Ferries washroom building.
They could have
expansion.
that
Yeah,
side of the building.
that's my sense, yeah.
Unless you want to throw some words in there about being increased to allow for public washrooms or something.
Right.
Now we're doing it.
To say it could be this or it could be bigger if it's a, yeah, that would be it. And then it specifies the maximum height is from the pier, which the APC wanted to make sure was mentioned, that it's not from the grade, which is the grade is actually much lower, and so we don't want to be measuring 4 meters and saying, but the ground is down there, so it can only be 6-inch tall building. And then the last thing it does is it creates a special zone for the house to say this is the house area that's allowed for 2 secondary suites. And so staff recommended second reading be conditional on a public information meeting, so that's the meeting for the neighbors that the applicant would host. And it was at a code compliance report on the existing non-compliant retail buildings. So let's try to lay out what they actually have to do to then bring it into compliance. Our building inspector is particularly worried about fire separation between the buildings then and what they have to do. And then there's sort of clarity for council and the applicant, what we're then going to require them to do to get a building permit. And so then council gave it first reading and they referred it to the various committees and like I said, they passed that condition. So that's where we are. We've gone to the Housing Advisory Committee and I just heard back this morning from the Applicant's Trust about that they have no issue with the bylaw. And then speaking to the applicant, we were looking to do that information meeting in the new year. So we thought Christmas wasn't a great time to contact all the neighbors, but in the new year would be when they would look at holding that meeting. And then we'd be coming back to council for a second reading once those steps are done. So I don't know if there's any further comments. I have comments I've written down about reviewing the wording of the seating for the takeout establishment and about reiterating the desire for a public washroom as part of any further development on the property.
I think it depends though. I mean, if by the time all this, if they get through all this, and if BC Ferries is gonna make a nice waiting room with proper washrooms, maybe that isn't needed.
I think the more washrooms the better, and particularly those businesses, you've got 2 restaurants, plus like I said, a kayak shop where
Right.
when you've got a group of people that are heading out and they all want to use the washroom, the more the better.
The timeframe, so we haven't yet gone to the APC, so it would be the January meeting. So we wouldn't be going to council before February. And some of it may come down to, I don't know if they've yet, we've talked about the code compliance report, I don't know if they've yet commissioned it.
Okay.
So then it's based on like an architect can potentially do a report.
And they've got to do the information.
And the information meeting will be in January, I would assume.
So we wouldn't know whether code would require them to have more washrooms until after they did the code compliance.
Yeah, my sense is that it probably, just because we've been going through it with some other existing businesses, is that probably the requirement would be that it be made, like it officially be a washroom for yeah, like accessible and accessible for customers or not, or what point you need staff washroom and public washroom or not, and what those triggers are. That would be my guess.
Would this committee be, and this idea would be not necessarily specific to this application, but be interested in following up to find out if there are studies that show how additional washrooms or better washroom facilities actually support the business themselves. You see what I'm saying is, if we could go to business owners in the Cove and say, hey, you know, you may not be required to put new washrooms in, but look at the benefits to your business it's showing. You know, that maybe there are studies out there that show.
There is Destination BC at our AGM just the other day, not the other day, sorry, morning break.
Couple weeks ago.
In November. They have a stat that shows that economic development is increased. They've got a percentage, I don't want to put it out there what it is,
Yeah.
if there's public washrooms. So that's already done.
Okay, so, you know, maybe, could you bring that to
Yeah,
our
I can-
attention and we can include it
Yeah.
in our.
Yeah, I can get that.
And send it to Daniel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, they've sent me, I'm gonna get them to send me their whole presentation, so I'll just pass it on.
I think I wrote it down actually because I was because washrooms are one of my things.
I was trying to remember
We're on the right
when
committee then.
when I was working in town, I think, I was wondering if like there was a certain amount of toilets you needed per seating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And I know I had to do it recently, but I don't remember what the range is. And
Yeah.
it probably is different for the outdoor seating versus it's like inside seating.
yeah,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah, it's-
I just asked the question because like if you guys are like already within compliance for that, if they're asking for additional, should that all be on the onus of the business owner? Or should that be in conjunction with the municipality or something?
Yeah. I mean, I know, so after the first round of committee referrals and initial council, I had some talk with the applicant because they were sort of trying to consider, okay, you know, it was great, everyone was positive, nobody said don't do anything, so they were sort of encouraged by that, and they had some debate about, well, do we instead now want to think bigger and think about development, and like, you know, what do we want to see here in the future, and do we want to not do this one and sort of look at a bigger picture, and then they decided, no, let's square this off, let's get into compliance, and then let's do a process and think about what else we want to do, and I knew after that initial round, you definitely heard that, okay, public washrooms were a key piece that we were looking for in anything else that they do, that would be something we'd be looking for.
Okay.
So I do have this in my notes that Jonathan from Destination BC, who's now the interim director of the Vancouver Coastal Region, said that their study shows that there's 10% more spending in a community if there's downtown bathrooms. And looking forward, because accessibility is one of the things that they're really, as the population ages, they're very aware of it and they're really pushing that. And they said by 2050, 2 out of 10 will have, they're talking about visitors, 2 out of 10 visitors will have mobility issues by 2050. So
Isn't
it's fine.
accessibility legislated?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's through new building permits and all that stuff.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so that's why it's coming in.
Okay, so
I think it's also like has to do with the seating as well too, like how many seats you have, a certain amount have to be accessible, and then the other ones can be regular bathrooms. They don't all have to be accessible bathrooms.
Daniel, is there a guideline that people who are applying for rezoning get from the municipality that say, you know, sort of like an outline?
We have like but more it's a guide and like, this is the rezoning process. This is, you know, you're gonna have to go to council and get a bylaw, and these are the we're probably gonna refer it to committees and that sort of broad outline, as opposed to like, you know, these are things that we're gonna want as part of your rezoning, because everything tends to be a little bit different. So we'll point to like, the OCP is looking for these things, and that's our broad policy, and then council has a series of policies that relate to rezonings and things that they'll look for in a rezoning. So we'll tend to point people towards the ones that are relevant to their rezoning.
Just wondering if there's a place in there for, you know, again, you know, things that the municipality would look favorably upon in your rezoning application.
And I think that's essentially the role of the OCP that it should be playing, is that there should be, it should say in commercial, like in Stone Cove commercial, the policy should be, we're gonna seek, you know, we're gonna look for these things. These are the things we wanna see. And then somebody in theory would look at the Stone Cove and say, okay, in commercial areas, the municipality says they want these things, so I'm gonna work to see what I can do on which of the check marks I can hit. Yeah. I think Stef is drafted.
Okay.
Any other questions on this one?
Right?
considered clarified? Because it's not that we're objecting to seating, we're just
Yeah.
concerned about what incidental means.
So do we want to say then that public accessible washroom be considered as a condition of this rezoning?
Not, I think this one.
Yeah, that's a pretty definitive statement.
Yeah.
Do you want to capture it somehow it's for the future? Like, or
The public
future
accessible,
that's
public
out
accessible washroom would be a desirable amenity to have in this area.
Or could you say something along, once this property is in compliance, that moving forward, further developments would,
With any further
Should.
development.
Maybe we say that and be considered a condition of any future rezoning.
Yeah.
Yeah, future rezoning, yeah.
So of, right at the end, as a condition of any future rezoning. Then you said you'd like it now, but, and then you're saying,
But
when,
we're so nice.
when you redevelop,
Yeah.
when you think about anything else, this is something you should put in.
But it wouldn't hurt to put.
Yeah, but you can do it.
Do they have any liverboards down there?
Not by their zoning, you know.
You really need to put in those little like cell phone charging lockers there.
Oh.
That would,
Well, that's
productivity,
not-
20%.
Yeah.
But that's a business decision, not a.
Yeah.
Okay, so someone want to move that we make these recommendations? Dawn? And second Maureen, and all in favor? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I guess I should say any opposed. There weren't any opposed, were there? No,
You
there
need to
wasn't.
technically say it.
Yeah.
so we're on action items now.
Yes, action items.
Page 11.
Our action items list is starting to look like my Outlook task list.
So if it, yeah, do we do it?
Yes, please.
Ed, reach out to Lorinda Strang regarding youth services on Bowen Brook this year. No, it's okay, ongoing.
Yes.
Share information with Family Place regarding multi-year core funding opportunity.
I've talked to Ann Silverman. Just a quick update. She was, this is for the Children's Center. She was told that they would have to, they weren't eligible for a multi-year funding. And that's, a policy had to be changed in order for them to get it. And I got the impression she was expecting that to happen, and it never did. Who would we talk to for
This
that?
is all total news.
Do you know why?
No, I don't. We only had a few moments to chat, but I mentioned the multi-year funding. She said they looked into that and they were rejected. And then there was supposed to be a policy review.
Well, the
as well
policy's
as-
been reviewed and updated,
Okay,
and applications were advertised for back in the summer, and
okay.
I have no idea whether they applied or not, or
I don't think
what.
they did. I don't know. They may not.
So,
See, and when was it, did we ever health and wellness? Because this is when they
Yes,
started,
this
right?
was
That was in
happening.
September?
September, yes.
Yeah, so in September, and you know, a number of the people, well-attended session that we had that were there.
32.
We talked about, you know, the importance of the youth and childcare and so on. And then Ann had specifically mentioned about the drain on their resources to just continually, and also the uncertainty,
Yes.
making it difficult for their operations, so they were, so
Wondering if they
that
could
was
have
how
more
that
than
topic
1 year.
was.
Who might she talk to about
well, I
this?
didn't even know we granted the Children's Center any.
Apparently,
Yes.
I don't know.
That's not ringing a bell.
No, it's
Something's
not,
muddled
Okay.
here.
something's muddled.
Was it
Yeah.
the Children's Center, was it the
Family Place.
family place?
Family place.
Family place,
Well,
sorry.
they're different.
yes, I'm sorry, but it's family place.
Okay.
And,
So that's an annual, basically, each year you give money to the family place?
Family Place has been sort of getting about $10,000 every,
They apply to the
Yeah.
community grants program.
yes,
and there's a community grants committee. And they hear all the applications, read them through, vet them all, and then make recommendations to council.
okay,
And then there's this core grant funding
Right.
service agreement. So one of the things that's in that policy is that it has to be a service that's typically funded by municipalities.
okay.
And
They also have to be, just looking at the policy,
yeah,
they have to be a nonprofit or registered charitable organization.
well, they're a nonprofit.
Are they
Yes.
are they a nonprofit society?
I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure they're a nonprofit society, but they're not, I don't think they're a registered charity.
I guess the key thing would be for them to confirm why they were not deemed
Okay.
eligible.
Who
to
would they
apply.
go to for that?
I think
That's Raj.
Okay.
The
To apply
community-
for multi-year, you mean?
Yeah, there's a whole application process. The Community Grants Committee redid the policy and redid the application process. And then said, because it's very much a budget funding issue too, like how much money we got to give out, that it got tracked, the final decisions got passed back to council rather than the vetting through staff and council rather than through the Community Grants Committee.
The last time this was amended was 2018.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's,
So there hasn't been a recent batch of
Okay.
amendments.
well, this was only the end of 2019, so,
That's a lifetime ago.
yeah. But
Almost 20.
maybe
Just the
she's,
other day.
maybe there's still something in it that I don't know, but it's first we've heard of it.
I'll talk to Ann.
But I don't know why it's Ann you're talking to, because she doesn't run Family Life.
She was the spokesperson.
She was sitting with, who was she sitting with?
Um,
Someone else.
Yeah, she was the one who
Tracy,
spoke
Tracy.
up.
Well, Tracy Lee, well, I think it was,
Yeah, right now, yeah.
no, yeah, she was sitting here, but I was just trying to remember who she was sitting with as well too. The
Yeah, well,
physiotherapist.
Oh, was Sandy?
I think so,
No,
she was sitting.
the older physiotherapist or the other one that's got kids? Tammy
older
Schultz.
Anyways,
We're getting in the weeds.
Okay.
Anyways.
I will
Well,
go
no,
to
because
Ann
Tammy's got kids, so I
and-
can
and-
see her
and
using Family.
have her figure out how that works.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And figure it
Yes. Figure it out.
out. Next agenda, have provincial update at the top of the agenda. I sort of did that, one referral before. Kirsten sent information to Natasha regarding the forum that may or may not have been done, but it's over. Helen, contact Community Futures regarding catchment expansion, that's an ongoing,
It's ongoing, yeah.
yeah. I'll put that in the future action section. Councillor Morse, provide Stef Shortt with historical information regarding engagement with the Creative BC Film Library Directory.
Oops, totally forgot about that.
Ongoing. I've got some time over Christmas to work on that if you want to send me that information.
You're not taking vacation?
No.
Oh.
A business engagement working
You're the
group.
lone worker here, okay.
Find a champ, oh, this one, okay. Telecommuter spearheader, just ongoing, or should we take it off the list? It's been going since June. I think it was Rob and no one seems to.
co-working group.
Yeah, and that was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We were gonna follow up with the people who attended the West Session County Libraries and see if we could facilitate them getting together.
Okay,
That
try to
was
get
also-
I think
someone
we should
from.
just take that off our,
Well, that was also brought up in the health and wellness session in a way, you know, like when there was.
that's true. And actually, we did make that promise. But I don't think that the first group was that, like, I think the health and wellness group would really appreciate it if we did say, you know, this is a time when you can come together, you know, whatever, or you can use this room, whatever. The other group, I think, were kind of like, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we take that one off.
Okay.
Sorry, can you pull that up again on there, Steph?
Oh, sorry. Okay, So we'll take this next one off too.
Yeah.
Okay. Meet to discuss engagement schedule and provide notes to staff.
You did that.
Okay. Follow up with committee chairs regarding top 3 problems, challenges. So I've got about 4 committees, and I've been on the phone with Kirsten. She's probably going to be coming to some key committees. This is ongoing.
Okay.
Long-term. Include discussion of public toilet locations in support of tourism Bowen Island planning in the December agenda. This is the December agenda. I will report.
It's exemplary.
Oh, so if we have time, the report is there, and maybe we discuss it down in January, depending on our timing.
Well, that was the one motion that I was confused about, because I thought the reason we wanted to do it in December was Jody needs to be able to put the locations of any of those temporary toilets in the brochure, the secrets brochure, which will get published in January, right?
No, I'll be doing it. We've got, because Rethink's no longer doing it, so we've got more time.
We've got more time,
Yeah.
okay. Because it was more the location, it's the locations. Yeah. But it's not TBI planning as much as brochure publishing is the timeline.
Well, there's lots of things to talk about.
No, but
We just wanted to do it during the winter, not talking about it in July.
no, but if you
Yeah.
want it in a map, it's got to be sometime in the next couple of months.
Yeah. Okay, that's done. So,
Can't say we haven't talked about public toilets.
Okay, so we have Wendy on the province update then. Are you with us there, Wendy? Yeah.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Because I know sometimes, in previous meetings, might be some connectivity issues, or you might not be able to hear me too well. But let me know at any point if you guys have trouble hearing me. So thanks very much for this meeting and for some of the updates. I'll be providing a bit of an update on the provincial side. A few things. One item, of course, that's top of mind in our ministry, and most of you are probably have heard it in the news and media outlets, are the mill closures and the impact to forestry workers. So with the Forest Workers Supports Program that's now in place, it's the $69 million program, they are supporting workers that have been affected by permanent mill closures or indefinite mill closures, specifically in the BC interior. So that's just something to be mindful of. Another big item that's, I guess, affecting the political front and that's high on the political radar is the Western Forest Products strike that's going on the island. That's affecting 3,000 forestry workers, and that is an area that is pretty much high on our political masters list. So as a result of the situation that has happened over this past summer, the RDP has been suspended, as we know. There are 3 applications from Bowen Island, of which one is from Tourism Bowen Island. So we are, where we can, helping to support RDP applications due to the suspension. It's still yet to be known when the suspension will be lifted. We're hoping it will be lifted, but as of yet, we don't have any latest information on the front. What we're doing is folks or applicants that are looking for alternate funding support areas, please feel free to reach out to me. Jody, more than happy to connect with you offline with regards to your application. Perhaps if I may ask, if Bowen Island Municipality is involved in any of the 3 applications, please let me know as well. Looking at the list, I'm not aware if Bowen Island Municipality is involved as a partner or or in kind, but if there is a sense from Bowen Island Municipality that you'd like to see some support to any of the three applications, please reach out and keep me informed on that front. There is
Wendy, it's Allison.
Sorry?
It's Allison Morse here, one of the councillors. Can you remind us of what the three applications were that went in from Bowen?
Absolutely. They are, the first one is from Bowen Island Health Center Foundation, so it's a not-for-profit organization. And their project name, I only have three
No, that's
details.
fine. I just need to know who the three applicants are, not the details, just to remind me. So, the Health Foundation, Tourism Bowen Island, and who was the third?
The third is Bowen Island Resilient Community Housing Society.
Okay, I guess in a way, well, we're sort of partnering with the Bowen Island Resilient Community Housing Society because they're leasing land from us. And we're wanting to see the affordable housing built. And we've sold some land to the Health Center Foundation so that they can build their site. So, yeah, I think the municipality and the tourism one, we're interested in all three, but we're not directly involved.
That's correct, Wendy. My recollection is that that council wrote letters of support for at least two of the projects, and probably three. But I don't recall any in-kind or cash contributions to the proposed projects.
Okay, good to know. If the applicants, are keen to pursue other funding areas, I mean, that is something that we can take with those applicants directly offline. I can, say that given that the RDP program is a very flexible program, one way of kind of working towards alternative funding is really figuring out, for each of these applicants, what is it they really want to achieve given the situation. So applications may be reframed, repositioned. We've seen how some applications may need to go through, various different funding channels. So something to think about, and I can definitely chat with the applicants as well, just to provide some resource support and some funding advice on how they would like to manage their applications, because typically the RDP program is such a flexible program that it's kind of straightforward a way to seek funding.
Great.
Good.
Well, maybe Wendy, we could get an action item on that stuff. Just that, I can do it, just that the Health Center Foundation and Birch be advised that
Wendy's
Cole
contact, yeah.
would be happy to provide support. And-
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. And Tourism Bowen Island, of course, is here, so
Yay.
Jody knows.
And we could maybe give them the email from Cheryl with the information sources.
Yeah.
So the alternate funding list is on the website, and happy to send a link to Stef. It is just folks have not already been to that website or list of the document. It is onerous. It runs the gamut from federal funding options to provincial, and I think it's almost like 38 pages worth of funding information. So sometimes it can be a bit of a challenge to kind of seek through which one exactly could be suitable, and then it's time consuming. So more than happy to kind of work with the applicants directly with that too.
That's nice.
Great, thank you, Wendy. That's terrific.
No worries. And I'll just have one final item, and I know this is also in your agenda. It's the Rural Island Conference. My colleague Cheryl McCoy attended that conference and has provided some good feedback to us. But I'm curious to know, what are some of the takeaways from Bowen Island regarding that conference. I know one of the, I'll just briefly bring up one of the issues is around, the governance of this potential partnership group, and the fact that an application was put into the recent RDP round, which is now currently suspended. So I would love to kind of hear, and I'm interested to know what the takeaways are from the perspective of Bowen Island, and whether did you guys see value in being part of this conference and moving forward, and then some of the next steps. Is that something that the committee see value for your community as well? Between myself and my two colleagues on the island, the three of us have, I guess, regional responsibility over, the islands. So we can definitely, kind of have even some kind of a follow-on or separate call if we wish. If you think it makes sense, even just from that rural islands perspective, and how you'd like the regional matches and then the provincial support moving forward into 2020. So something that I'd like to hear from you guys.
Great. Well, Wendy, I'll just make one comment to you outside of our larger discussion, but we had 7 people actively participating in the Rural Island Economic Forum from Bowen Island, and I think each one of us took away, quite a bit in varied amounts, because it was quite a broad-ranging and compact schedule, and of course that's going to take some time for us to all the ideas and initiatives to see how that fits into our community, and we very much look forward to talking to you and Cheryl some more. So I think we have our own working follow-up group, and so we can schedule something in the new year where we just have maybe a conference, or if you want to come to Bowen, as part of one of our meetings, or outside of one of our meetings, maybe that might be an idea if you're planning that or you're available to do that.
Sure, sounds good. All right, I mean, I totally understand that. It takes some time to kind of digest I did hear that there were a lot of presentations at the conference, and I think sometime in the new year could be timely to kind of reconvene on an on an informal basis with myself, as well as with some of my colleagues, perhaps. All right.
Maureen here, Wendy. I should mention that with the forum, the municipality was a partner and provided support, and is also listed in the application for the rural dividend program. So there is a commitment there, unlike the other 3 organizations where we simply provided the letter of support.
Got it.
Wendy, it's Helen. When we have our meeting in the new year, I'll talk to you about the forum, because there's a few things I can talk to you about there from the point of view what I'm doing, and because I thought it was really useful, and so there is quite a lot I can talk to you about with that, with regards to what I'm doing as well. So we can just remind me, and we'll talk about that as well as all the other stuff that we're going to catch up on.
Okay, no, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yes, and thanks for reminding me. So Helen and I have arranged to kind of have a call meeting, in the year. I believe it's January 9th, plan for it, and really have some more in-depth type of a discussion around the CED economic development planning work that Helen's undertaking, and also to really think about what potential provincial resources and support that we can provide on our end as well.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Wendy.
You're welcome.
Great, thank you, Wendy. Then, and that's everything from you then, Wendy, I guess?
That is great.
Yeah,
for
okay,
now.
great. The next item is council update. I don't know if either of you two have anything in particular that you want to highlight for us.
I've got the highlights in front of me from the last
Yeah.
meeting. We met on the 9th of December, and it was quite a full agenda. We adopted what are called the active design guidelines, which help developers, are intended to help developers and municipal planners and individuals who are building homes consider how to integrate things like improved pathways, trails, bicycle access, all sorts of things to do with active transportation into their projects.
I don't think we had a presentation here, right, on that, didn't we?
I don't remember if we did.
Well,
We probably
Emma
did.
Chow?
Emma,
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure we did.
you
In,
recall?
in the summer. Or-
Yeah, I think it was the
Yeah.
one meeting
Well,
that you.
they've been adopted, and
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't think there was a lot of changes between what she presented and
no,
what,
I don't think so.
what we saw.
Just some clarification. They should be posted on the website now. This is important, we gave 3 readings to a housing agreement bylaw for Area 1, Lot 2, so the triangle lot, next to Museum and Archives. So the housing agreement was one piece of what needed to be put in place in order to close the deal on the sale of that lot. So it went through, and what it means is that we're one step closer to the project moving forward. It's 27 residential units, all of them rental, and 4 of them under the affordable housing policy. And for those units, the priority is for Bowen residents or employees or people who were residents prior to their retirement. It's a big deal. So it'll be added to the list of housing agreements that we have in place. There were a bunch of
Are they market rentals?
market rentals.
Plus 4,
+4.
is that 15%?
I thought they were fitting under the CMHC guidelines, so they were gonna be.
Yeah, but they're still market rental.
10% less, I thought,
They're still,
for all of them.
they're
for
still
the first-
considered
Yeah,
They're
4 is
still
15%,
considered
that's the
market.
basic
Yeah.
requirement, right? For-
Yeah, yeah,
And a variety of bedrooms, is it? Or-
yeah, variety of units.
If you go onto the council agenda for the last meeting and click on the link for that report, there is a plan and some detail on what they're,
Yeah.
yeah.
So there's this assistance being provided to the developer by CMHC.
Yeah, I think it is.
The island survey results were presented.
Those are on this agenda too.
They're on the agenda somewhere, yeah.
Those are probably the big things at the meeting itself. Anything you want to add, Allison?
No, and there's the excerpts from the council resolutions are in the agenda package.
Yeah.
So, I guess the only issue was the previous meeting with the short-term rental policy. Councillor Kale and I were concerned about the 120-day limit, so that's why we were opposed. Not because we were opposed to having a policy generally, but just the 120 day.
And so that was clarified in the
Well, there was lots of discussion about it, but it never actually, you know, I don't think we actually ever voted one way or the other on 120, so it was adopted in principle.
right. And so, yeah, because,
But that's on the agenda.
yeah, so,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
I think that's it for council.
Great. I'm just curious, in terms of, you said there was various other rezoning applications considered. What's the sense? Are there more rezoning applications, or is that of interest to us, you know, in terms of what's going on in the island?
Well, if they're sort of economic development related, then they
They come
get
here.
referred
They
here.
come here.
Yeah, like we saw Nectar Yoga last time.
Mhm,
Yeah,
yeah,
so that was on the agenda too,
yeah,
and got referred back for further discussion with the applicant.
yeah. Do the rezonings typically have to do with additional housing, like people putting in additional suites, or they're?
It's- Ranges all over.
Right, all ranges all over, yeah.
So the ones that were on the agenda, as Allison mentioned, the retreat center, and then the
That's next year.
rezoning at Miller Road, where Eddie's applied to rezone his property.
Yeah, so that's for quite a bit more density in that area too. It could set quite a precedent in that area, I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
This is the council resolution regarding net Rio guides and the information items of this agenda.
Great. Okay, shall we move on from council then?
Yeah.
Arts Council.
We've reopened the search for an executive director. There was a wonderful candidate that just knocked the socks off everybody on the selection committee. The person was very excited, and it would have been a perfect fit, but unfortunately some personal issues have arisen, and the person has had to back off. So we are open the executive search, and we should be looking at interviews in mid-January. Hopefully we'll have somebody in line by the 1st of March. Jacqueline has agreed to stay on a month-by-month basis to help with the transition.
Great.
The gallery is closed for a month or something. Is it January?
Yes.
For the month of January.
Is there renovations going on, or is it just closed?
There may be some, actually, they may be doing some sound work. I'm not sure, some
Right.
more buffering.
More
I don't
battles?
know if that's.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Okay, great, good, thank you.
May I just ask,
Yeah.
it's just the gallery, it's not the annex that's closing?
Just the gallery.
Just the gallery?
As far as I know,
Well, the
the other
gallery,
side will be open. It's
the
because
library half was.
Yeah, the library for day use.
Thank you.
Okay, Jody, do you want to say anything for Tourism Bowen?
Sure. What kind of info never having done this, what do you want to know?
Well, I guess, you know, what the status of, because you had you have new board people, I
Yeah.
believe.
So we had our AGM in November, and Joan Viner, who had joined this committee, reconsidered, and she stepped down. We also, the treasurer that we had to step down. So we do have new people that have just come on, and it's nice to have new energy. But we just had a very first short meeting, so that's all, we're transitioning into that.
Right.
But essentially, we've got something like accommodations, we've got a restaurant, we've got the fellow from the cidery said, you know, so we've got more business owners joining, which I
Great.
think is good, as opposed to the most recent board was not business owners. So hopefully that will be beneficial.
Who's the new chair then, Julie?
We haven't got that yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we just had our AGM towards the end of, I think it was the 20th of November, and so we're looking to January to hopefully get that going and stuff. It's a pretty, we are a very small organization with big agendas. So it's a bit daunting to be, well, Murray used to do it, as we all know, and it was a great fit for him, and he had endless energy, and he also had the industry depth and experience to carry that position. It's pretty daunting to put on somebody else. So I actually suggested that it might be good to have co-chairs or something like that, so that it's just not one person. So we'll see. So the organization, we're, always trying to find the best way to do the things we're trying to do. We didn't get the funding for the rural dividend, which would have been a boost. 3 years ago, I was actually more than 3 years ago, we originally applied to I inquired with the rural dividend, was told at that time that we couldn't get the funding, but thanks, I think, Maureen, to your persistence, we eventually have been accepted, which is wonderful, but I did look into that like 3 years ago. And then also the MRDT, 3 years ago, I recommended to the board that we start the process for that, and we didn't. So we have continually tried to get funding to help flesh out the organization, but it's always been it's an issue. So the visitor center is closed right now. We have applied for the core funding, which I think was recently granted. We are starting the publications. We're doing ad sales, membership renewals right now. So that sort of goes on the off season. For the past few years, we've been really trying to promote off-season visitation as a way to get more economic development. That's been one of our big things, and we are noticing that more people are coming. I'm doing social posts about shopping on Bowen, skip the malls, skip the stress, decompress on Bowen. I mean, it's an active social thing, media campaign right at the moment. We're going to do the accommodation, come and relax. So this is, we're not focusing on promoting the busy summer season. We're trying to disperse visitors and support the economic development throughout the year. So that has been one of our, from the day we started, what we've been trying to do. And we will continue to try to do that. The rural dividend application we put in would have supported those services. What else should I say? I was pleased to see the active, this is kind of, but it's related, the active living guidelines be adopted. I thought that was wonderful. Disappointed, and I think the Arts Council is disappointed the way that the whole Cardena paving and has gone on, and the lack of consultation. Our building is not accessible. The Arts Council is not accessible. I think that this has been a very poor, I mean, that development was in for a few years, and nobody ever came to the caring circle or tourism to ask, what are your functions, what are your needs? This is the design that we've got. Do you see any potential problems with that? Nobody consulted us. The Arts Council invested a ton of money doing the redevelopment on those stairs and stuff, and now those stairs are treacherous. And I've already heard that some people, there's no rail. So I really encourage that. I don't know why for all those years that there was a failure for consultation, and now we're looking at spending more money trying to remediate problems that should have been part of the initial. So I do think development is important to the economic, because it should be, and I'm dumbfounded. I actually sent almost 6 weeks ago or something, I actually sent an email when I first arrived at the visitor center one day, and the sidewalk, and I actually sent pictures. I measured with a ruler, a 1 foot drop from the sidewalk down to what previously had always been level. And I sent an email to Emma, I sent it to the engineering department, a couple of people, not one person responded to my email.
Okay. Your email it's come through the Transportation Advisory Committee, and there are several actions coming out of that.
Okay.
It's in a few different categories of their agenda.
Okay.
So if you haven't had a proper response, it's probably because it's been dispersed.
Okay, but nobody has
People are
responded.
madly addressing the
Okay.
issue there.
But I really wish if this could have been, like I said, it should have been part of the planning and the design to start with. This active living is great. Just disappointed to see that it wasn't done, and now there's going to be costs associated with it to try to rectify.
The project is not yet finished, and the acting director of engineering is looking into pretty much everything you've identified.
Yeah, and although I'm appreciating what you're saying, Jody, that, and this goes back to one of our action items, which is the idea that the different committees, like the Transportation Advisory Committee and the Economic Development Committee, will benefit from having more connection with each other. But sitting as a chair, I know we're all volunteers and we're tight on time, and the wherewithal to attend other committee meetings with how many different committees are there in the municipality? Yeah, I mean, even if each one of us took on, sitting on one other committee, we still wouldn't get to all of them. So that's a tricky systematic problem that we have in terms of making sure, because I'm sure the Transportation Advisory Committee was well consulted in what that was.
Don't know.
Yeah, or maybe not, okay.
But I wasn't
Yeah.
necessarily saying it would be volunteer committee members attending other, but I would
Yes,
hope
yes,
that the
yeah.
staff
Mhm.
would have done the appropriate consultations.
Right,
Design should follow function, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So, anyway, I just want to, because nobody's gotten back to me, and then
Mhm.
I understand there was a meeting with Jacqueline and Tina. I wasn't invited to that meeting, neither was Colleen. So, we're a small community, we can talk, and we shouldn't be off in our silos, Natalie doing our things, and then, like I said, then we've got issues to deal with that probably should have been thought beforehand, as far as I think with my casual talks to people, hadn't been thought of beforehand.
Mhm. Yeah, well, I mean, we need to think about how, with the large amount of information that council sees, and then even larger that staff and, and other
Yeah, no, I
committees
understand.
sees,
Yeah.
how we can be,
So is there a recommendation coming out of this that, because there's plans for bike paths and stuff, things that are going to be in the cove, that when future paths, trails, road upgrades or changes are being considered, that the adjacent businesses and property owners be consulted in the planning stage?
I think that sounds,
Yeah, sounds reasonable.
yeah.
Certain nearby businesses and
Residents.
Residents and property owners, yeah.
Mhm.
As far as I know, and I can check with the residents across the street from the visitor center, they were never consulted about this is what's going on.
Yeah, in the planning stage.
That is not accurate.
Okay.
I know for a fact.
They were,
They were.
yeah.
Yeah. And at the same time, you might say in the past, before business licensing, that it might have been more difficult to actually contact business owners, not having an official, list per se, but now that we have the
Well,
business.
we've managed to contact those committees.
Yeah. But that having been said, yes.
that the committee recommend that when future paths, trails, road upgrades, and other changes are being considered, that nearby businesses, residents, and property owners be consulted during the planning stages.
I would add and kept informed during
Oh,
construction or whatever,
updated.
And kept informed.
as the project progresses.
Can I just clarify, so when somebody sends a letter that they want to send to council or to a committee or whatever, it gets received by somebody at the municipality and it's not actually acknowledged,
Well, it depends who they address it to.
right?
Yeah, so to mayor and council, there's gonna be an automatic response saying that this has been received, it will probably end up on an agenda.
Right.
If it's coming to committees, it's gonna be the chair or I who reply, and those vary a lot. So transportation gets some, many steps required types of letters, and then the chair decides whether the letter will appear on the agenda, be an item of discussion, or just be received by the committee and the person is thanked. So if there are actions, it would always be acknowledged, receipt is acknowledged. But question answered or follow-up
Right.
steps, that's a bit of a messier process.
So is it, in Jody's case, would it have been better to have addressed it than to a committee as opposed to staff members? Or what would?
Oh, you were actually contacting individual
Yeah, 'cause-
Municipal
and
staff,
I
right?
actually started the email, I mean, I can dig it out, that said, I'm not sure who to contact, so I'm reaching out to you people. I just, you know, like, can you let me know what's going on here, what's the
Okay, well,
plan?
that's just bad then, that's just bad, that's not policy, that's just bad communication.
Well, yeah, no, but then, like I said, I was disappointed
On the
then
part of
that-
an individual.
that there was further discussions and nobody actually invited me to be involved in those discussions either. And, you know, so then, yeah, I'm told, I don't wanna burden council and mayor with every, like, you know, I'm sending an email, look, can you tell me what's going on here, or who should I talk to?
Right.
And not get a response, so,
So we've got a resolution here, what do you wanna
Review it.
vote on it? And, okay, that the committee recommends that when future paths, trails, road upgrades, and other changes are being considered, that nearby businesses, residents, and property owners be consulted in the planning stages and kept informed as the project progresses.
Can you throw in the word other changes to public infrastructure?
Yeah, because it's too vague.
Other changes to public infrastructure?
Yeah. Because there could be sewer lines, water lines,
Mhm.
hydro, you know, just all that stuff that could mess things up, tree trimming, et cetera.
And the word consulted, I'm not certain about.
Okay,
There may be instances where it's simply being informed of what's going on.
Yeah, because if people are informed, then they can choose to.
engage, kept up to date, informed.
Well, that's what we said, consulted in the planning stages. That's why I had planning stages in there.
I'll put it up, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I think you have to be careful about that, because you can't mandate that every
No, but what's
every person, you know, every person in a neighborhood is going to be part of a planning process when it's actually like, okay, here's what the work and the design looks like.
Yeah.
If there are any issues, we're happy to, you know, talk, but it's not about co-designing that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But maybe in this case though, for, you know, maybe, I guess it's common sense too. For some things, there's like, you've gotta put in a water line or a sewer line somewhere, it's gonna go down the ditch, whatever. If you're doing something like reconfiguring that whole area, that involves access
It
to
impacts the
tourism,
service, the service that
gallery,
you're actually
caring circle.
provide.
Well, then maybe then that's, yeah, I don't know.
being able to carry on, but sometimes when you're putting in a sewer or water line, being able to carry on your business. So you need to know
Right.
in advance, so
You need to
can
know, but
let
you
your
don't need to be part of the
customers know.
design.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But
It's
you-
different?
That, I guess I used the word consulted so that these issues,
Yeah.
you know, how are they gonna get in, is it still gonna be ground
Yeah.
level to my space, would have been raised.
Yeah.
So what do you think of that?
My glasses in this one.
Probably
don't
not
need the word
informed
future in
ways.
there, you just need,
Yeah, we only have the future.
when paths, trails, road upgrades, and
Yeah,
other
you don't
changes.
need it twice. During the planning stages and as the project progresses, you can take the second bit out.
Be involved during the planning stages?
No, I'd just say informed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if
Well-
if they choose to engage.
I think that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, my only thing about this,
Well, if they'd come to meet with you, then you could have provided comment. That's what informed means.
Yeah. Because that could be.
But it's
if we
informed
just
that you get a,
solve
you
all
get
that.
a letter sent to you saying this is what's
Well,
happening?
it depends, I guess, on the.
but in the sense of this case, like Pauline, the art gallery, the visitor center, we're actively providing a service, we're getting a service agreement from the municipality. We know what we need to do, we need, you know,
Okay, but are you saying that informed doesn't?
yeah, it doesn't feel like we're being consulted,
You would
like.
be though, because what would happen, so I.
No,
you
and,
kinda-
she has a point.
No, you would be.
Informed
So-
means this is
no,
what we're
listen,
gonna do.
Bear
Yeah.
with me, because I've done this like my entire working career. So you would be, because that still would involve consultation and us coming and speaking to you. So being kept informed and being in the loop is the same thing. So what we would do is we would send you a thing out saying, hey, this is what's going on. Can we have your input and your feedback? This is what
Well, I would
we want
hope,
to talk
I
to
would
you.
hope so.
So this is what you would hope that they would do.
But-
and they would tell you that that's, you know, this is when we want to talk to you guys, are you available, blah, 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 and that would be part of that information process, because information is back and forth between two parties.
Yeah, but can you see where I'm standing at the moment?
Great.
None of this is going
Yeah,
on.
so moving forwards,
And
we will improve
nobody
that
said, what do you guys
process.
do there? What do you need? What, does this make sense?
So we can't fix the thing that's gone wrong now. What
No,
we
I
can
know,
do
I
is
know.
fix the thing moving forwards.
Yes, yeah.
But information is a back and forth between two parties, right? So I think that covers it.
I think what's important here is that we put forward a recommendation that is general in nature.
Yeah.
And that means distancing it a little bit from the specifics of the situation in Cardena that you're describing.
Yeah.
No, I understand that.
I think
But-
so long as you say that it's an information process, it means that there is that back and forth, right? So long as we come to people and say, hey, this is what's going on, can we get your input and your feedback? You know, this is what we're going to be doing, can we get you guys to talk to us? I think so long as that happens and we know that there's a process there in place that we've got to do, then
Could we throw in something like, because to me, and having
I mean, we
spent
can say it's a
years
process, right?
making money on the missing word, they, informed to me means I'm telling you what I'm gonna be doing.
Yeah, that's
End
what
of
I
story.
get too, yeah.
Informed and consulted where appropriate.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that way, if it's
Sure.
directly gonna affect them, which
Okay.
some things will,
Yeah.
there's,
But you can take out the second one because you've already got it. You see,
I don't know what that does to the sentence though.
well,
Because
somebody
you're
wanted.
just repeating yourself.
I know, but we need I feel like we need a synonym.
We'll just say during the planning and
And does the
Implementation
project
stages.
Planning and
process.
implementation, yeah.
just implementation stages and then covering the whole.
Yeah.
And does the project, yeah, there you go.
And you don't need after project review.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
So just, before,
Okay.
I'll just show you what I found. Oh, sorry, before you vote, just this is from the transportation. So I guess that's the issue, right? There's no
Well,
real,
yeah,
you can't
it's-
feel
it's-
chair
it's-
over that curve.
It's the drop off
It's the
on the other
drop-off,
side.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just
doesn't show
arrived
up.
one day and, you know, the guys are doing their thing and I'm, like I said, I took a ruler and it was
Yeah.
12 inches.
Yeah.
And I asked the guys working there, I said, hey, what's going on, what's the plan here? And they go, oh, I guess they're gonna put a step in. So then when I heard that, I go, well, that's not accessible and we can't have, so they didn't know what was going on, the people that were actually constructing this. So that's where I went in and I just sent all this email, I don't know who to contact. Can you
Okay.
please?
Is there gonna be parking in front of there still?
No one's, I have no idea what's going on.
So there is stuff going on.
Yeah.
Is there a violation of provincial accessibility law in this?
As I said, this project is not yet complete,
Yeah.
and some of these concerns are being addressed by the director.
Okay, so can we do two things then? One is Steph, would you just highlight to Emma and, was it Daniel that you sent the email?
I didn't send it to Daniel, maybe I should have sent it to him. I
So-
sent it to Emma because I
Yeah.
dealt with her more.
Well,
And then I
Emma was
sent
the
it
one that
to
was in charge
two
of
people at the engineering,
Yeah.
the guy that was interim and Kevin and
Glenn.
Glenn. Yeah, Kevin and Glenn, and Emma. And all I'm just saying, nobody responded.
Okay, so Steph, would you mind just at some point just highlighting that she hasn't received a response to those people? And so that will address that specifically, and then.
This
now we have-
hopefully will.
Career suicide, okay. So I just added, who are we recommending this to? Recommend to council?
Steph, you don't have to do that, that's
Yeah.
okay. I'm just trying to give the history of here and just being
Yeah.
the lack of consultation.
Well, I could
Yeah,
ask.
okay, so that's why this resolution,
Yes.
so that it won't happen in the
Yeah,
future.
perfect.
And during the fixing.
Perfect.
You could put a period in there. I think after residences, and then it could be also that property owners to be informed, just so it's not as much of a run-on.
Period between residents and property owners?
It's not a.
No, a comma and then an and then a that and a second line after the that, so it's two recommendations. No, I think it's fine.
To
Maybe
me,
it doesn't
okay.
matter.
Okay, let's do it as is.
Zero-
Okay.
Resolutions
are messy.
Okay.
Okay.
Vaughn, all in favor? Any
Okay.
opposed?
Now, Jody's
Okay.
just left the room, but
Okay.
at the annual meeting, the tourism AGM,
Yeah.
I was there and I was quite struck with this little guidebook, a handout from Destination BC of the power of tourism. So I got, Murray scoffed some for me and brought them up here. So there's 5 of them here. I've got one, so does anybody want one?
I'm sure you can actually take one, thanks.
And I could probably
You
get
got
some
one
more.
for?
Oh, Jody's got some. She was at,
I'll just take a quick look through it, and then I
you
can,
guys I don't know whether that wasn't distributed at the economic.
Well, I'd like to
Summit.
look at one.
no, I didn't get there.
The presentation was
Really?
Yeah, and the 2 people that presented were excellent. So, yeah. I really liked the down-to-earth and the background of the interim regional manager. He had some very practical.
He's new, right?
Yeah, he's relatively new, but he had a background. He'd run an info center and he'd been in the tourism business, and so he really had the boots on the ground practical experience.
Is this the destination?
Yeah.
BC's
person?
been, yeah.
He's American, didn't he say he was American?
I'm not sure, I
think
can't remember what he said.
Okay, so Jody, before we end our tourism section
handed
here,
out those
I
brochures,
had a question for you, and this had been, we're just, Allison had just shown us the brochure that she'd seen at the AGM, and just to kind of connect you with what we've been talking about. I mean, certainly tourism has been on our radar as a committee, and we're really happy to have you here, participating with us in our group. So this isn't on our agenda, but I just think we should start the discussion, and that is, we have an upcoming business summit to plan in the new year, and each year we typically have a topic for that business summit. There's sort of a featured keynote, and community economic development was last year's. And I think we should start ruminating on whether tourism should be potentially a key topic in that business summit this year. And it was suggested to me by Murray when I just ran into him, and I think that I'm echoing what Allison was saying, is that it sounds like there's a dynamic person there that presented to your AGM, is that right?
It was Jonathan's president, when I was just talking about
Yeah.
how interesting he
Yeah,
was.
Destination BC, they're very impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that he'd have that.
If you're, like I remember the community economic development thing, I mean, they could certainly come, and they could give an excellent presentation. I think what would be very important, I mean, it could be discussed, but they are focusing on the value of tourism. And I think that would be really relevant considering.
It was
we're doing
Jonathan's
this-
presentation that was a really good one.
Yeah, so that is a big focus if you go through that very beautiful glossy brochure. And I think that could be really, really relevant to our community here, just to get an understanding. We're just talking about washrooms. Well, washrooms, if you have washrooms, 10% more, so maybe businesses want to provide a washroom because they'll increase their sales, So really trying to understand the value of tourism in the big picture, like in the region here, the province, because there's no denying what's going on, and we get it coming over here as well. And what I've been trying to get on is that we're the doable Gulf Island. We're going to get those people. We had articles in LA, a couple articles in the LA Times. It got reprinted in the Honolulu Star Advertiser. We've been over in Europe. Washington Post. When people from those faraway places have heard of Bowen and they come here in January, guess what? They come to Vancouver in January for a conference. They come to Bowen anyway because they've heard about it. Probably never be here again, so they come. So, sorry, I've lost my train of thought there. The value of tourism, I think, would be really, really relevant to this forum, I think it'd be really good.
Okay, well, I think,
It's a topic.
It's a topic that we definitely will talk more about. And
Today.
we're gonna talk some more about today? Okay, good.
So question, like the planning of that summit, is that something we're doing in the meeting today, or is
It's on
it?
the agenda.
Sorry.
Nobody reads my agenda in the past.
There's some things on there. All right, moving along.
It's 9.2.
Oh, right there, okay,
Yeah.
sorry, now I see
Okay,
it.
so,
Can we leave it to that?
we'll absolutely leave it to that. I just wanted to touch on that.
Okay.
Okay, so, staff, do we have?
Okay, so back to toilets.
We'll just receive your report.
I'd like to highlight two pieces, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So, the reason I wrote this was because toilets have come across this table, other committee tables, desks all over the building, at the water cooler, so I thought I'd gather everything up that I know. This could be pure fiction, or there could be a lot of fiction.
I did see it correct.
Excellent. So yeah, anything you want to add, or I just want to get it on a streamlined record of what I know, because it bounces around like a pinball. What I would like to come out of this, so this is kind of what the EDC mostly in Parks and Trails have recommended in action items from the minutes, and then this is sort of what's being done in response to those action items, highlighted in bold, from what I know. The two things I just wanted to highlight, one was that this July 8th, council directed staff to look into signage, directing people to public washrooms, particularly the, I think the baseball field and the Bowfest field. And staff was resistant to do that because Metro land wasn't their land. I've actually followed up on that, and staff is actually fine to put this signage up, Public Works, but would like to talk to someone, maybe high level at Metro, and wondering if we can.
So you put a, they're worried about putting a sign on Metro's land or
They're
our
feeling like they're
land?
taking, the feeling that Kevin has is that he's taking a horde of people from the ferry and sending them onto Metro land, and as a municipal worker, he feels like.
Metro does not want to do that.
They don't want the signage up.
They don't want the signage up.
No, but it would, what did council want there then?
For the council resolution?
Yeah, council directs staff to look into some.
That wasn't specifically about Metro land.
But it was about, it was
But
a
there are no-
resolution
there are
that
no-
came from here.
Bowen municipality washrooms in that area.
Yeah, because when we talked about it here, we were talking about signage to point to where all the public toilets and everything were. So people wouldn't have to walk all the way back down to the ferry. They could walk into Davies Orchard by the baseball field, for example.
So
Yeah.
maybe that's another day then, but this is the one that's kind of dangling.
And I can understand Kevin's reluctance to pointing to public use, even though it's public land, it is not owned by us.
But he doesn't really care, he just wants to hear.
But the answer is it's public land that belongs to Metro Parks, and they don't want any more signage on their.
No, but on our.
On
The signage would be on our property.
The signage would be on the telephone poles or on the street at the road going into Davies Orchard.
Okay, they haven't even asked that question.
Yeah, that's the question.
Yeah.
And then the second one, then I didn't do like recommendations, I just kind of, this is possible actions.
So staff, on your list of toilet, the library would not want their
Right.
toilets advertised on in the brochure, I think, because there's major, again, it's staff capacity to clean things and look after them, and the same with the one in the little cottage. They're there for library patrons and,
Sorry, the one at the cottage was,
yeah, I'm looking at page 2 of your report, or page 13 of the agenda.
so number 3, the Seaside Cottage?
Yeah, 11 locations are listed,
That was-
but
Correction.
permanent plum toilets in the library not
That
indicated.
never happened, so that's gonna be taken off, that was one of my things. That
Okay.
Seaside Cottage never happened.
Oh, nothing
Yeah.
went yet?
No, that never happened,
I thought it did.
no.
There was a commitment to do it, and it was one of my questions. I didn't
Yeah.
recall it being
It
done.
never happened.
No, it's not there.
So,
I mean,
Did it
given the
get paid
timelines
for?
for these things, this was
Yeah.
last summer.
So that's
That
fine.
request was made.
Yeah.
And it may be that they decided that they'll do it in high season in the coming year. So it's something that we could remind.
It would definitely be
Staff.
helpful,
Yeah.
for sure.
so then there were, like, their interest was for a temporary toilet. Would there be any interest in a permanent
Well, there
toilet
was
there?
discussion when they were talking about tearing down that other dilapidated building, that one of the uses potentially for there was proper public washrooms.
I don't recall that.
Yeah, I remember, but that may have been,
I mean, I'm happy to have a conversation again with Tom and just remind him that he did say that
Yeah.
they would put in a temporary toilet there. But they're very good at following up, so if it's not there, I'm thinking that he has to get it approved in a budget in the
Yeah.
same way that we have to get it approved in a budget. And that he's probably folded it into his planning for the coming year. But I can check.
So it was approved to have a toilet just like for the
We
summer
thought-
season, basically?
we don't know.
No.
Temporary?
I was asked to talk with Metro. I talked with Tom. He said, we'll look into getting a temporary toilet put in where Seaside is.
Temporary meaning for the summer.
No, not a pit toilet.
A porta potty type thing.
Oh, I see what you mean,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
But they're all yours.
Yes, those are in the terms defined.
Right.
I read through those thoroughly, I promise.
A seasonal temporary toilet.
So can I just add given that I've managed the visitor center for whatever, 3 or 4 years now, my perspective on this, because I actually haven't sat on the table and actually have been able to contribute to the toilet talk. What happens is people get on the ferry, they're too busy looking at the view, it's a 20-minute ride, and then all of a sudden they arrive in Snug Cove and they haven't gone to the washroom. They come off the washroom on a busy day, they get funneled past that one little ferry washroom, don't even see it, and if they do see it, it can often be broken. And then they get at that intersection and they pause for a moment, it kind of opens up a bit. And then they start to think, okay, what are we going to do? So if we capture them at the visitor center, we can explain where the toilet options are. But very often when they do come to the visitor center, if we do group talk, before they go off for a hike, just before like they go off for kayaking, what do they want to do? They want to go to the washroom. So a pit toilet at the start of the Killarney Lake Trail would be great. I think the municipality, given that this is once again Metro doing this, maybe the municipality wants to consider putting some toilets by the visitor center. Similar, like
So
we
that
just,
was, sorry, in the report, that's, we've had two toilets are going in for 2019 from the municipal budget. So there's nothing coming from the municipality more, is the
But where are they
message I'm
going?
getting. Quarry Park and at the Upper Ferry per the request of Cove businesses.
Yeah.
That's for this next budget year.
so can I put on the table that I would strongly recommend that there actually should be public washrooms around the visitor center? When Kelowna redesigned.
So that's the Metro conversation, that's why
Huh?
that's why we're working in Metro area, hopefully. Isn't that right by the visitor center?
So you could send them to Killarney, to the Seaside Cottage.
Yeah, no, I understand
And or
that.
back to the ferry.
But I'm talking, if we're looking budgets, future budgets and
But
stuff.
not for this year's budget. The budget requests are more or less gone.
Well, it'd be good to have a pit toilet by the visitor center too.
In the backyard.
Well, that's what I'm just saying, there's that whole back area. If we're looking towards the future, I think there's an opportunity there. The library, the art gallery, we get people using our toilet because some people have accessibility issues. They can't go walk there. They need to use the facility, and so we do it anyway, even though it's not a public.
I'm thinking that
facility.
anything permanent in the cove would be hooked up to the sewer.
So,
It's standard, so the other thing I just want to really make clear, it's standard practice when somebody goes to a visitor center, they often are going because they know there's
where
a
the
washroom, there's a public washroom. When Kelowna spent however much money redesigning their visitor center, they strategically put the washrooms way at the back of the visitor center because the visitors have to walk all the way through the visitor center to go to use the washroom and then walk back again. They can't go out the back door. And why did they design it that way? Because they have opportunities to then provide, capture and interact with people, and they're providing destination management and economic development because they could say, hey, oh, you can go here, you can go do that. So it's all tied together, and I don't want to belabor the toilet talk, but it is really important, and I'm sorry, I haven't been to the table to provide my historical perspective and my understanding and experience around toilets and policy, but seriously, the visitor, it's one thing to go say, yeah, that's great to have the pit toilet over there, but I think we're missing an opportunity for destination management and economic development by not providing the toilets and missing that opportunity to capture visitors and do that.
I have one question for you, Jody. Oh, sorry, you won't get a question. Okay.
What makes me concerned, I'm 78 pretty soon, at an age where most men appreciate the closeness of a washroom. So I know what it means not to have one. So I have full sympathy for the issue, but I would say it deserves obviously the attention of the municipality or the GVAD or anybody else, but it has taken up, in my opinion, too much time of the Economic Development Committee. And I can give you a list of things which are worth pressing to be addressed. But I would say right now we are getting into disproportionate time allotment for public toilets. If they're needed, absolutely, and they are needed, get it done. But get it off our agenda, other than just an information item. Because otherwise I would wonder, why are we talking and being on an economic development committee? And 95% of the things I think are worth addressing, we haven't addressed.
Mm-hmm.
So, with all due respect, full support, but get it off our agenda.
I agree, sorry, and I just, that's
Yes.
why I was qualifying, I've only been here once, but I do want to say that it is tied to economic development. to
Absolutely,
so-
yes, it's tight.
Yeah, yeah.
So what can we do as a community then
So here's,
to make something
can
move
I
forward?
just say something here, because
Once
this
and for
is
all.
driving me bonkers as well, because I'm so sick of
We're an hour
listening
behind
to
in our
this talk
agenda.
about
Yeah.
toilets. So here's what my advice would be. So Bonnie has told us that there is no more money coming forward from the municipalities, for the municipality to pay for toilets, because they've said that these are the toilets that the municipal has money for to pay for. So knowing that, and knowing that obviously I'm going to write the economic development plan, which obviously encompasses lots of different things, toilets included, knowing that I have to work with you guys on tourism and strategic tourism, I think that it's probably our job to look at that and all the other things that we need to do in terms of strategic tourism and some of the issues that we need to address, because there is money that we can probably apply for that will allow us to build things like a better visitor centre, that will allow us to build toilets, that will allow us to do the different strategic things that we need to do to develop better strategic tourism activities in Bowen. And so I think that's probably something that we need to look at doing that doesn't take up any more time with the committee for us talking about toilet parks. So we know that we need to start working together in the new year on those kind of things. And so I think that's probably something that we need to do. I think that's probably what we need to do. I messaged Destination BC today to start that ball rolling. I'd love to talk to you anyway, because I know I need to for my plan development, and we need to anyway for the strategic tourism development. I think that's the way that we need to go, because I think we need to start to identify cash, to start doing some of the things that we need to do. Because I know that
we as a municipality are not looking to build toilets, so we got to start looking at what options are. Fortunately for me, I'm part of this SFU course. One of the people on the SFU course that does the teaching identifies pots of cash, and she's already told me about some of the pots of cash that are available for some of the things like this. So I think that there are options for us to be able to do
So what are we
some of
gonna
these
do?
things,
Can I
which is-
say
I've got an action item, Helen and Jody, take it offline.
Yeah, I think that's probably
Is that okay?
so that we stop
Yeah.
dragging these poor people crazy, which you didn't know, to be fair, but I know that these
No, I
guys.
just
Allison, do you like this idea about the sign on the back of the ferry? Like when you come, or maybe you, Jody, when you come off the ferry,
Yeah.
there's the toilet signs for the bathroom. But once you pass the building, it just looks like a utility shed.
It does.
Yeah, so if you pass it, and you're like 10, 20 feet past, you turn, and there's a bathroom
Oh,
sign,
so
and you
behind where
realize,
their electric sign is, it should have a sign that says washrooms
Yeah.
and an arrow.
do you think it's a good idea? I can ask
Or,
them to tap.
or even it has to be higher, I think, because it's only sort
It
of,
is kind of weird.
it's kind of.
Okay, so in the spirit of not talking
Yeah,
about
the
the
location.
let's not talk about the
Okay.
details.
So, but we could ask BIMTAC to,
Yeah.
I'll ask them to tap.
So,
Okay.
so what have you crafted as a recommendation for us?
no, it's
I don't have a recommendation.
Oh, okay, I thought you said that you had. Okay.
Jody and Helen are taking the long-term
And you're gonna request a sign.
and I'm gonna ask for a sign from, ask for Vimtech to ask for a sign.
Okay.
And you're taking off that metro thing that never happened, correct?
Oh, and there's an action for Marina as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, and I've got notes.
Yeah, actually, don't take it off, just change it.
Okay.
You know, because it does reflect the discussion.
Okay,
yeah, put
Pending.
pending or possible.
okay, perfect. And the not public, excellent.
Yeah, and then my comment, the library would not want their.
I'm putting not
washroom.
public.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah,
so we know what the infrastructure is, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it's there, but it's,
I've got
it's a
it.
big
I
issue.
think what you've done is useful,
Yeah.
just
Oh, yeah.
consolidating all
It's got
this stuff.
everything there.
And it does enable us to kick it off the table and have it dealt with us.
And I'll be adding this conversation to that report. But you don't need to see that.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Steph, for helping us clear that.
So why,
To flush it off.
To
the
flush that off of
issue.
our agenda.
given that we're an hour behind time and we're
Mhm.
supposed to finish by 11:30, do we need to talk about the short-term rental policy?
I don't know that we,
Helen has
Or
to
the-
do hers before it's
Or the
done.
buy local campaign, or can we flip to 8.1 and
Helen hasn't done
9.1?
her update yet.
yes,
Good update,
please,
you guys.
let's, well, yeah, before, we could do that, but let's let Helen do hers.
Can we do hers as part of 9.1? Because you're not listed on the update list.
Oh, for staff.
I'm still staff though.
6.5.
Oh, okay. But can you
Before
do
A.
your update as part of 9.1?
Well, it's a separate thing, so, I mean, I guess, but,
Well, that's,
Why do we have the short-term rental policy on
it's
I think
10
we should, Allison, are you concerned that you're gonna have to leave and you're?
Well,
you're
I
not
guess
gonna
the
get
question
something?
is, it's almost 11 o'clock.
Yeah, we can make an
And-
effort to move things along, but I think we should give Helen a few minutes to.
Okay.
Maybe after Helen, we could take a short little break for all this wonderful snacks.
Okay, so Helen, can you
yeah,
give us what you
I
need?
thought we were ending at 11:30.
not anymore, you know?
What?
Okay, so I just had to do an interim report to the rural dividend because I have to do those quite regularly to let them know how we're getting on with the CED plan. You'll be thrilled to know that I did that. I submitted it and they accepted it without question, so that's awesome.
Is that something that could, is it a public document?
I don't know. They might have said if it's public or not. I'm not sure because it has money attached to it, which is partly my like how much we spend on my wages. So I don't know if it's public. I don't know. So that's why we didn't attach it to the agenda because they haven't told me if it's public. So I don't know. I can probably send it around you guys, but I wasn't quite sure, and it doesn't say on it if it's public. So I'm not
it would be
sure.
helpful for us to see it.
Yeah.
And we don't need to see what you submitted
Yeah.
to the provincial government. We could simply get a narrative that takes anything.
Is it a written report or is
Yeah,
it?
it's written. It's in a like a PDF
document.
So we could get the written part, but not the
Yeah.
budget part.
Yeah, well, it's all together, I mean, it's all on one PDF, but yeah, I mean, it's just a
Well, you
couple
can have it
paragraphs.
back out,
Yeah, it's just a
yeah.
couple paragraphs. Yeah, I can send that around, it's, yeah, sure.
I mean, you'd had to do,
Well, I just write it straight into the PDF.
Oh, it's a
sure.
fillable
Yeah, it's a
PDF.
fillable PDF.
Helen's gonna,
But,
circulate.
yeah, Stef and I had a conversation about it yesterday, and I was like, I don't know if I can send this, I'm not sure. They've never said, but yeah,
The
sure, I
report.
can do that, yeah. I can send that through, I've done it anyway, so I can send it. So anyway, it's been accepted, which is great, and they didn't ask us any questions, so that's really wonderful. This is more of a heads up for you guys, because obviously there's some stuff coming down the pipeline that I need you guys to just take a look at, give me feedback on. So I'm in the process of writing the findings report, which is based on all the phase 1 research that I've been doing. I'm in the process of doing the phase 2 work plan and the communications plan for phase 2, which I'm going to kind of amalgamate into the phase 2 work plan. So all of these are going to be presented at the council meeting at the end of February. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you guys the findings report and the phase 2 work plan, which obviously will have the communication stuff in it, towards the end of January. And I'll give you guys sort of 10 to 12 days to sort of look at it all and review it like we did last time, and give me feedback and comments that I can then amalgamate into the final document that I'll then submit to council for when I go up and do the thing that I did last time, basically. So just do the same thing that we did with it last time. That'd be great. Because I'll probably we have a meeting, I think it's mid-January, so I'll just miss that. It'll be the end of January when I get it to you guys, because of when we break for Christmas. So just want to give you that heads up now that they're coming, because they're quite large documents. So just bear that in mind, that they're coming down the pipeline.
That worked last time.
Yeah, but I'm going to give you just a little bit longer this time, because there's 2 coming. So that's the reporting side of it. In terms of activities, I just organised off the cuff a couple of artisan holiday pop-ups, partly because obviously I've been doing craft fairs with the soap business, and I had a few people coming up to me before they realised what my job actually is, talking to me about how difficult it is being an artisan and a maker on the island. It's just hard to sell your stuff on Bowen, it's tricky to find places, and when you do, everybody's kind of robbing you blind. And when people found out that I'm actually the economic development officer, I get even more people talking to me about this. And so I thought, it'd be great if we could start to do a few more fairs and a few more pop-ups just to support some of our artisans. So I thought as a sort of a starter for 10, we'd do some for the Christmas, because it's a good time to do it and just test the market and see if it's something that people want us to do. So we just did one this Tuesday just gone. We've got another one on Sunday. They're both at the pub. Glenn kindly donated the space for free, which was amazing. He's super in support of that, super support of artisans and makers, which is amazing, with a view to us potentially doing more in the future. So that's something that I'll be looking at as part of the CED plan, how we can do more of that kind of thing, and how we can work it into the CED plan with the things that we already have on island, so that we don't kind of tread on people's toes, we don't upset anybody, just how we can work that in strategically as part of a sort of strategic network for the artisans to try and support them. So I'm going to be looking at that and just try to help artisans and makers stay on island and be able to, make a bit more of a living. So that's something that I did learn a lesson from that process, which I thought I'd share with you guys. I had to do a canvassing exercise because of the noise bylaw, because the craft fair, one of them, the Tuesday one, ran over the noise bylaw by an hour. And so I had to go round canvassing door to door for a craft fair, which was kind of bonkers, to be honest with you, because how much noise is a craft fair going to make? And so not only was it kind of daunting having to go and knock on people's doors that you don't know, but a lot of people were like, are you serious? Like, it's a craft fair.
at the pub who already make tons of noise.
You know, seriously have to do that.
I seriously had to do it, and it was insane.
Why would there be a noise?
Well,
Serious
exactly.
picking
So
Okay, I found this on the web.
Serious more noisy than the craft ones.
Can't use that word serious.
So I had to go around and ask people if they were okay with us doing a craft fair outside on the patio for this 1 hour.
That's insane.
Right. So the plus side of having gone through this process, because I wouldn't have realised that this was a thing that I had to do, was I learned the lesson that obviously for a person that wasn't me going through this process.
How did you even know you had to do that?
Well, because obviously Tyler said, you know, you're over the time, you're going to have to go around and do door knocking to check that this is okay with the local.
Over the time.
Yeah,
So you didn't have to do it to be able to.
Okay, so
What
let's,
you think?
okay, I appreciate
It's
the
only
anecdote,
6
but maybe we should not get too involved
It's
in it
only
right
until
now.
6 o'clock,
Yeah.
but if it wasn't me and it was an
Yeah.
external person that wasn't me, they perhaps.
So
wouldn't
maybe
have
we should
gone
just
through
chalk that up to the,
process.
we should look at some of the policies that
That's what
inhibit
I'm
people
saying.
doing
I
business
think-
on the island,
I
like,
think perhaps it would have been prohibitive.
get out of the way kind of stuff,
I
you
think
know,
it would have
like.
been prohibitive to
Yeah.
somebody else that
So,
wasn't me.
so good
Should I put this as an
anecdotal.
action item for future meetings?
Let-
Discuss
Well, I'm
No,
going
no,
to-
let me make a
I'm
suggestion.
going to look at it as
Yeah,
part of the
you
CED
look
plan.
at it, but let's, in terms of our business engagement, let's just consider it, you know, as we're
Mhm.
talking
Question.
businesses, is
Yeah.
this an issue
Yeah.
for people?
Yeah.
So-
Because if it's not an
Good thing you bring
issue
up the
for,
subject.
if
Yeah.
other people.
So there was that. I'm going to the Mayor's Standing Committee in January. That's partly to discuss the CD plan so that they know that it's actually a thing and I'm actually a human being that's doing something interesting. I'm also going to be talking to them about placemaking and development opportunities in relation to the development of the CD plan, because obviously that's all part and parcel of CD. Obviously I'm going to be talking to Daniel beforehand, and we're going to be working together on that, because obviously me and planning are sort of intrinsically linked. So we've got to make sure that we collaboratively work together on that. So that's going to be a great meeting, I think, and really positive for the development of the CED plan. As I just mentioned earlier, I've reached out to Destination BC following their awesome presentation at the TBI AGM, and hopefully moving forward we're all going to be working together with a view to strategic tourism, which will be freaking amazing. So I'm super excited about that. And I've also already started my interviews with key stakeholders for all the CED stuff, so partly for the finance report, but also because obviously we have to start doing the consultation, which obviously I'm going to hopefully be getting you guys involved with. I hope you're happy to help me with that, because I'm only one person. So I've already talked to the past chairs of the Chamber of Commerce, the past CEDC chairs. I've talked to quite a few people from Tourism Bowen. Jodie's on my list next. So we're starting to talk to all of our key people. And when I start to draw up the consultation plan, we'll look at our key stakeholders for doing all the workshops and the interviews, so that we can start to do all the visioning process, because that's what we need to
So
do
who
next.
helped you identify the key stakeholders?
They'd identified them as part of the grant application, and so we pulled it from there. And then when I started to do all my meetings with Kathy, we started to pull out more, and Marina helped me to pull out the key stakeholders to identify them. And the same thing as I start to develop the consultation, I'll be talking to you guys, because that's what I want to talk to you guys about, like who we think they are, and based on past research. So when they did all the research for the branding, and they pulled out loads of the stakeholders, so that too will be based on past research, and then advice from you guys. I think that's how we'll pull them all out. So that's me, that's my update.
Thank you, Helen.
Take a little break here, a little 5 minutes, take a little snack.
Well, as Allison pointed out, I mean, we're trying to compress a lot into a little bit of time, and we're not doing that great a job at this point. So it's just after 11, and we can. I'm sure we can breeze through some of the rest of the agenda. But are people okay with going over, and how long over? Not Maureen?
I can't.
I'm okay, I'm whatever.
Yeah, like to 12.
I'm okay to stay.
Okay. just, if we scan through, I mean, what time do you have to leave, right at 11:30? Is that when you have to leave? Do we want to just go for another 15 or 20 minutes and then have a break and so we're not?
I think you should push through to the end
Yeah.
and have that sitting there as
As a
incentive.
carrot.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Or
Okay,
instead
let's
of
keep- let's
get
keep-
us
let's keep
going,
going.
go and get some, Natasha, it's sitting there.
Yeah.
Is there any coffee?
Yeah, coffee, I can bring down.
We always have stuff upstairs.
Oh.
Sure, upstairs, because
I'd always, this is a special day.
I had no idea there was any food coming.
Yes, she, her emails and snacks will be
Sorry, I get
provided.
hangry.
Snacks to me is a.
Helen, just a question for you.
Yeah.
We don't have an official subcommittee, to work with you, working through.
No, I've been thinking about that. It would be quite useful. Well, I think there's two useful ones. It'd be good to have a tourism one, I think, because we used to have one and then it got knocked on the head. So it'd be nice to have a tourism subcommittee, I think. That'd be awesome. And I think it would be good to have one for me too, so that we could, work on stuff for the CED plan.
Maybe in the new year we can.
I think so.
Yeah, start getting a little things together.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would be good because I don't have anyone. There's nobody, and so that would be really helpful.
It does, and it also seems to me.
In these meetings, right?
Yeah, there's too much to do.
There is too much to do, and
Yeah.
because I've got so much coming up for the consultation and everything, that would be really awesome actually. And obviously I don't have a lot of time either. I've only got 17.5 hours a week, so yeah, it'd be quite good.
So I think when Steph comes back, what we'll do is we'll not try to strike new subcommittees right now. But
No.
we'll
I'm sure they're
make an action item to, or we'll ask people.
Yeah,
to
yeah,
consider
that'd be really
those
great.
two membership on two new committees.
I get all that.
Not that I want to take away from my meeting, I really don't like it, quite useful. Because you can actually focus on get stuff usefully done. Yeah.
But that's not environmental. It doesn't actually benefit the environment. That's what I mean. Like, I get all these.
Are we carrying on without Stef one? I just got a
Uh,
mail.
she's
Oh, there's
Got it made by a First Nations artist off the Capilano Reserve. It even has little wings and feet.
Yes,
Yeah.
sorry.
Okay, so it looks like we're having a 3-minute.
No, we're not. We're talking and eating.
She's
Yeah.
like,
Oh yeah, we're not stopping talking, but we need to get everyone back in the room, so.
It even has feet.
Who have we lost? We're all here.
No.
Maureen,
Like, God, regardless, I don't care.
Oh, Maureen.
she'll be back.
What is that one?
It's a coffee
That's my
machine.
coffee machine, it's right beside Helen on my desk.
Yeah, Steph and I.
Oh, the
sit
grinder.
next to
Okay.
Oh.
It's
No,
really
I
loud.
just took focus off to the pot into this container.
Oh,
because it was
the
the right
size.
size. Okay.
That's right. Excellent.
Those boots. Whoa, those are disco. Disco boots.
Okay, so everyone's back in the room. So if you want to grab coffee and have your, grab a little something, you can go right ahead. But we're gonna carry on. So Steph,
Yep.
I think we're in agreement that it would be useful to have a working group for the Community Economic Development Officer as outside of our official meetings, between meetings.
Support group?
Support. Well, working group. And
Helen Blackstone's support group.
I think we actually, we say it on the minutes subcommittee reports, but I think quite a long time ago, we decided that we don't have subcommittees, we have working groups.
Oh.
And the distinction being that there aren't,
Unofficial.
these are unofficial, informal gatherings of people to work on things in between meetings.
Is that you saying that you want to meet at the pub?
Yes, we want to meet at the pub. And having a beer or a glass of wine is allowed. Yes.
Who is going to be in this work group?
No, so what we're going to do is we're going to put a action item to call out for people on this committee or members of the public to form a tourism working group for the.
Who's putting the call?
Stef is.
Stef is putting the call.
Yeah. And so in addition to our Rural Islands Economic Summit working group, the Digital Roadmap working group, and the Business Engagement working group, we would like to add a tourism working group and a community economic development officer working group.
Okay, but the community economic development officer working group would be open to the public?
I don't think so.
Maybe
No,
not.
that's
would
just
be only-
this,
Okay.
yeah. Because we have to consult
I
with the
wouldn't want it to
public,
be open to
so.
the public, so I just wanted to clarify
No, we
that.
have to consult with the public, so that wouldn't be
Okay,
great.
Allison?
Yeah.
Well, on the tourism working group, I think it would be rather nice before we struck one to actually go and meet with and talk to the Tourism Rhode Island Board.
Yes, that, and I think
Yes,
that's.
because that should be the two
Yeah.
groups.
I mean, maybe it's representatives from here and representatives from there.
That's
Mhm.
right.
Yeah, that would be
I
ideal.
just said that.
Yeah.
You just read my
Yeah.
mind.
Okay, so Helen's support group is committee members only, and tourism working group is outside. I actually just remembered that we have in the terms of reference that I'm not supposed to be involved with working groups, so I'd love to put that call out. I think it's going
Okay.
to be someone else.
Okay.
You could do it. You could do it.
I could do it.
Well, you
but,
could do yours.
I could do mine.
Well, I think you could do yours.
And you can do yours.
And Jody, would you want to take on, because I mean,
I can talk to you.
the tourism working group would be formed sort of around your efforts with.
I think it has to be
Tourism.
formed mutually between
Yeah.
this committee
Yeah.
and Tourism
I
Rhode
think so.
Island
Yeah.
Association.
Is that, are you on
I'm
board with
just-
what we're talking about here?
Sure, yeah, define what the working group.
Well,
objectives and
basically
mission and
what
objectives and.
what we're wanting to do is to have less formal discussions on the ranges of issues like this, strategic
Toilet.
tourism,
Toilets.
toilets, what have you, outside of our formal meetings here. And so the working groups would bring back information to reports to the committee, and where we need to make recommendations or have votes, we would make votes here.
Instead of doing all the details at this table.
It's a great way to get help for everything.
Yeah, I mean, I can put a call out,
No, but I think process-wise, it's the board and this committee
Mhm.
yeah.
should
Yeah,
mutually agree to set up a joint working group,
yeah,
The joint working
Yeah.
group, yeah.
which a couple of people
yeah, I think it only needs to be.
appointed by the board and a couple of people appointed from here.
Right, yeah, yeah. Okay, so then the action item would be
I would go
to
back to
approach the
board,
tourism
yes,
board and
yeah,
ask if they were interested
And I
in.
would say that this was requested.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Oh, that's right.
And if you're sending an email or some sort of confirmation, you want to include me on it, that would be great. Okay, so that was just an aside from our discussion there. Okay, so we're gonna skip through fairly quickly business horizon minutes. I'll just say with the short-term rental policy that I asked Stef to include a note, a follow-up, because there was concern by me and I think other members of the committee that the staff report for short-term vacation rentals I think it was leading about what we actually discussed in our meetings. It's particularly around the 120-day limit. I believe that it could be taken by the way the staff report was written, and that's why I quoted it, that we were in support or we were neutral about a 120-day limit, whereas in fact I think there were definitely people here that were against having any kind of limit. And that's why I went to the council meeting or the meeting of the whole, and I made that comment. And so I wanted people to know that and to make sure that no one disagreed with me making that comment. So I think it's on the record that the Economic Development Committee did not support or was not neutral about a 120-day limit. We in fact didn't support. We thought that there wasn't enough information to have any kind of limit.
Yeah, that's right.
Is that right? Okay.
We deferred, didn't we?
We essentially.
That's what you guys said, and I think it was that members provide the following feedback, because there wasn't 100% unanimity on all those bullet
Yeah,
points.
so it said members provided
Yeah.
rather than the committee provided.
Yeah.
But I do
That's
think
it.
that, you know, the way it was quoted, or the way it was put in the staff report was, it was very, I could have easily have been taken that we were in support of a 120-day limit, or that we were neutral to it. And I don't think that that's correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was really the point of having that there. Like you can have some time to type and then we'll launch into our bio.
What is the next step for that? Is that going to community feedback?
I think it's referred to staff to draft the bylaws.
Oh, okay, and then, or the community consultations already happened, is that right? Okay, okay. So now it's, staff will create the bylaw and then it will go, okay.
Go through a 3 reading process.
Okay.
So do you want to do something like, I mean, is there unanimity in this room about 120-day?
I
Do you
think,
want to make a,
yeah, we could, now let's make a clarification. Let's make an actual written clarification. It's something to the effect that we clarify,
like, do you want to vote on it?
yeah, we clarify that the point that, and repeat that point, the 120-day limit, you know, from our October 11th meeting, did not support having any specific limit on short-term vacation rental days, is it?
We had said that we wanted more, we wanted to understand the data, the, you know, behind that decision, right? Like,
Which Emma in part presents in this report. If there's a recommendation, I'm abstaining because, and I imagine that Allison will as well, because we have already voted
Right.
and
Yeah.
passed the policy that's related to this. So
Yeah.
I'm not offering any further.
Well, maybe we don't need to, because the reality is that council had to vote on it, and council did vote on it, and they heard what I have just told you, so maybe we don't need to do anything. I don't think. What do you think? Okay.
We should not.
We should not? Okay, all right, then we won't. Okay. Unless someone else is strongly should.
it's too late.
It's too late, yeah.
It's not necessarily too late. There will still be debate as the bylaws are developed.
Okay, so,
And depending on the direction the bylaws take, there may be some revision to the policy because the policy was approved in principle, not in all.
so will it come to us again for comment?
I'm not sure if it will.
So what I also heard in the public comments from that meeting were that the belief is that getting temporary, the
Use permits.
temporary use permits would be onerous and expensive for rental operators.
There was that comment, but there also was a counter, which was if you're renting your home, a temporary use permit is a relatively modest cost.
Right.
So there certainly wasn't unanimity around that.
Well, an important data point, and I'm sure this relates to, you know, things that you'll get into, Helen, I would think is how many people do apply for these temporary use permits?
Yeah. And is it a 2-year temporary? Did I see that somewhere, or am I incorrect?
I had known of them to be 2 years.
I think they're 3 years,
Oh, 3 years, oh, okay.
or can be up to 3 years.
And so that would be give that person the ability to go over 120 days.
They could ask for that in a temporary.
Oh, they can ask for what they want.
I think so. That'd be right, wouldn't it, Mark?
I'm
And
still,
considered.
Yeah, it'd be considered.
I have to be honest, I'm finding all the details a little hard to stay on top of.
I know, it's a little bit.
Are you getting questions from people specifically? Or, you know, are you getting a lot of comments in tourism so far?
We have some members that this is obviously going to impact them, and, you know, they're not that keen on it. Other than the actual membership at the moment, no, I haven't had and like I said, I'm even a little bit out of the loop about the fine details here.
Yeah.
That I would love to have a Coles Notes thing saying
That will be part of the development of the bylaws.
Okay.
Okay. All right, Steph, are you ready for your buy local update?
Yeah.
So as a committee, we're not involved in that anymore,
No, we haven't been asked to do anything else at this point.
and we may not be. So I guess as a committee, we have to decide if we want to do anything more. Like, are we going to go to will there be, how does that work for you? When it goes through these readings, then the public can come and,
Public comments, always.
yeah, okay. So it wouldn't be a committee thing, then it would just be
Yeah.
individual members going if they felt like it.
Well, I think a committee could make a formal comment, can it?
Yeah, I would imagine.
Or a
I'm just
recommendation
making
for
we decide if we're gonna do anything more or not through this process.
I think it's in council's hands at the moment
Mhm.
with staff developing the bylaw, and we'll see how that unfolds.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can decide later if we want to, okay. Okay.
So the Buy Local campaign is similar this year to last year. It was launched on December 2nd, so December 2nd to 7th is Buy Local Week. It's gearing up for Christmas provincially. We started with social media and newspaper ads. Sophie, we're following a similar template as last year. Sophie's doing a great job. I don't know if you've seen any of them. Some pithy statements and interesting visuals. This report outlines the budget that we have provided for that and some links. The addition this year is a hashtag buy local Bowen, and the question, what did you buy out of Bowen Island today? So my request of you guys is if you could do that on your social media presence. Yeah, if you buy something, say, look what I bought on Bowen today. What did you buy on Bowen today? And a flurry of excitement going. This mind map we did last year, where we put the Ready Potato was kind of a great example of this. The Ready would go in the middle, and then they would talk about who they use locally, and you see how that webs out. We can do that again this year. I'm not sure how effective it was. I saw it in New Westminster at the Quay. It was quite fun to see it there. And
I liked it.
Alderwood still has theirs
I
up.
think it's good too. So you mean like the businesses would put this in there?
To put it in the windows.
Yeah.
I think it's a really good idea.
Okay.
But we need to distribute it to you.
Well, it's a bit like I was quite maybe more pumped and time on my hands. I kind of went door to door a bit last year. So if anybody feels like grabbing a couple and dropping them a couple of places each, that would be helpful.
And restaurants too, because restaurants
Yeah.
are buying local.
Okay, so okay, excellent. So we approve of continuing on with that. So we get rid of that
Well,
mind map.
your resolution doesn't make sense. That the Community Economic Development Committee approve of, I think the option would be there, approve the buy local campaign and provide the following feedback, but I thought we already approved entering into the buy local campaign.
I don't know. I'm just trying to get just a
Yeah.
suggestion.
I'm pretty certain that we did.
Yeah.
We did, we've already passed the thing, so I'm just.
No, just do you like do you like what's happening?
Yes.
Okay.
Do we approve of it?
Yeah, you approve of what's been done.
What's been done.
That's what the of is for.
Okay.
So yes, you like the mind map, okay, or whatever that's called.
Steph, just a thought with this
Yeah.
mind map is because you're asking for people to do it on social media and you're not necessarily thinking a lot of them will be posted in visible spots where people see them. Should we encourage people to fill them out, take a picture, and then put them on their social
Yes,
media?
yes.
How can we do that?
Or can you do a digital copy, just send it?
Yeah, I
That
did
way-
that, I
there
did that
was a
last year.
digital.
I can
Yeah,
just-
just and say, post this on share it with us and we'll post it and.
Digital, post it with the hashtag. Okay, so that'll be a little information piece I can work on. Okay. Hashtag And then just the question is, do you guys have any other ideas? Anything you think we can do?
When did you say it was on March?
March 9th?
Okay.
Say again? I didn't hear that.
What's March?
March 9th. It goes to March 9th.
Oh, it goes to March.
Okay.
Read that out.
So does the buy local group, like the templates, do they have it just seems to me like for me, if I was going to do it for my business, what would be really easy for me would be is if I could click on a website and just like type in some stuff and then so it was kind of done for me. Because otherwise I'm not really sure how I would do this.
Well, that's what I'm saying, if the restaurant got a digital copy of this.
But then they'd have to print it out, write on it.
Yeah.
No, they put it on their social, they just
Media,
fill it out and then.
So
put it on the
digital
site.
one goes on social media,
Yeah.
and people can use the physical ones to put in their window.
Right,
Yeah.
but I guess I don't know how to fill it out digitally. I'm wondering if that's easy or hard or.
It was
Oh.
easy, I
You
did
just
it.
write on it when you take a picture of it.
Right, which is we're back to.
No, but the digital one was easy to do, I
It was,
remember
okay.
it,
Okay,
yeah,
all right,
yeah.
great. So there is an easy digital one, so we can.
It is an easy
So we can do
digital,
a
yeah.
digital blast out, yeah.
Yeah,
And we started this December 3rd?
Second.
How feedback for next year, why not start in November?
Because that's gross.
Because we're talking about the rural economic.
Because
conference.
all the
Last
stores have all their Christmas stuff and everything, as soon as Halloween's over, they start.
Yeah, that's what we did last year, just 'cause
The
we
next
didn't get to it this year.
Okay, so we
Yeah.
started it later.
Oh,
this
yeah,
year, okay.
that was not intentional at all.
Then the other question is, how do we assess the effectiveness? And let's not talk about that now, but I think that as we go into next year,
yeah.
we should define some metrics that we can actually show that this was effective in these 3 ways.
I feel like Robin Fenton talked about that.
Yeah, because we are spending
Yeah.
money on it, right?
I feel like she talked about that a couple of months ago or something,
Yeah. Well,
Like-
let's,
collecting the
yeah,
metrics, yeah.
let's,
But the question
definitely add
is, if
those
she
2
talked
things.
about it, but
Start earlier,
what metrics
find
are we
out.
gonna collect, and how are we gonna know?
I think that's what I remember her talking about, like B metrics, like
Oh,
she
okay.
had found the metrics and was discussing the metrics,
Okay.
if I remember correct.
Okay.
Is there a personal version of this? This is good for the business, but is there, yeah, because particularly at this time of year, Christmas, it might be too late for this Christmas, but there are some people, younger people with families or whatever, that are more social, they're always out there. If they had this cute little thing and they said, this is what I bought for Christmas from Bowen Island or something,
And for kids.
and for
in the
kids too,
schools.
because also a lot of people, what I see when I'm going through Facebook is, a lot of people don't actually know what's available. So if a mom said, oh, I bought this awesome book at Phoenix, and they're, oh, wow,
Yeah, but
that's
then
cool,
she's
I want a
blowing-
copy of that, right?
She's blowing the surprise.
Well,
Kids
they're
are on
they're
Facebook.
kids probably not on
Well, so a little
Facebook,
3-year-old is probably not on
Oh,
social media.
I bought this for my mom.
I don't know these days.
Well, they can't read well enough to read it, that's the thing.
There is a good idea in there. I mean, I
Yeah,
was
there
looking at
is,
this and
yeah.
thinking, you know, if this were reframed as, how are you local? Or how am I local? And then, you know, you're in the center rather than the business. It would need to be tweaked, you know,
You
to
could-
categories.
You could actually stretch this out through the year, and we could actually post that, I mean, as things, we aggregate data, we could actually post it on the Muni site or something like, this is how people are using, or supporting our local economy.
Mhm,
I think
yeah.
It doesn't have to just be a Christmas, I mean, it's something we could continue in some way, shape, or
It's not
form.
just Christmas, no, you're right.
Well,
it's
it
all
can
year
also
round.
form part of the, like, buy local, like, artisans markets and all that kind of thing too, right? It can form
Pop-up
part
shop.
of that network, yeah, like the pop-ups and all that kind of thing, so that we make it part of a bigger network of stuff. so
There's
that we-
services, hair cutting,
Exactly.
massage, there's,
So-
Yeah.
On their website.
you know,
We're not on their
Yeah, we are.
website.
So I think it can form part of a
Where?
bigger network.
Oh, first page.
Yeah, okay, so, let's, I'm not sure where follow-up on buy local fits into our working group structure, but it sounds like something that needs some follow-up in that respect.
So are you guys, I'm feeling like this is kind of a next year thing.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
can we get in our actions, let's say the, May agenda, by local working group, start ideas?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, that's excellent. So-
Can I just make one more comment, because I don't know if I saw it in the campaign, but I think I saw it in your notes, Stef. That emphasizing the fact that every dollar that you spend, this stays in the community, as opposed to if you go to, yeah.
They have a little chart here. That could be a nice thing to share and post
Yeah,
too.
because I think
Sorry, I missed
people
that
don't,
because I was typing, I should have been typing while you're
I don't
talking.
think people think that, it's the same thing like at the farmer's market. If you actually go and shop at the farmer's market, that farmer gets almost 100% of what you spend. Whereas if that farmer has to sell their produce to a business, they only get something gross like 15% of what they.
Yeah.
So the difference is dramatic. And so the same thing with this is, I mean, that was an eye-opener to me. I went to Justin, so I think reiterating that over and over again, how that's, and this is trying to do that, but.
Well, how
even
we're,
just-
how we're purchasing this
Well, that's-
creative content is what Sophie's kind of doing, right? She's the one who's getting out the social media, is that?
She's,
Because this is great graphic to put right before all that, and this is on their
Okay,
website.
okay, I'm
right?
just gonna curtail things a little bit here. Instead of, Jody, let's not review the
No, no, no,
graphics right now.
I'm done.
Okay, so, but if we have a follow-up, how do we help Sophie if she needs help? Like, if you two have comments, like, those are good comments, can they go, maybe go through the website and send suggestions to Sophie? Would that be the thing to do?
let me talk to Sophie, we have until May,
Okay.
so I'm gonna, flesh things out with her.
Or maybe she wants to let us know what her projected, what she's gonna do when, and then.
Are we talking about this campaign here?
Well, I don't know. I mean, this is what we're talking about right now, right? So,
Yeah, we have a calendar.
yeah.
I can share with you. I didn't really want to put it on the public agenda, but we've got a.
Well, I'm thinking, because Jody and Natasha both have good comments
I
right
feel
now.
like you guys are going to be on the working group.
Particularly the dark days of January, February, March,
Yeah.
if this thing is going till March, people spending their dollars locally, I think is really important.
Would you
Okay.
be interested in knowing what's coming up and what Sophie's gonna be sending out on the social media
Yeah,
and how
sure.
she's doing it? Because we can
Okay.
ask her to let you know.
I haven't, so I will share that with you. Offline. Okay.
Good.
I just wanted to show you where we are on the website. I provided them with a bit of feedback that it says communities, businesses, and we're not under either of those. Where are we? We're under.
Okay, hang on one sec. Maureen has an update. Do you still have time to do it, or do you have to go?
I gotta go, but it's a very brief update.
Okay.
If you recall, we were reviewing and updating the Welcome Neighbor book. So Heather Pretty has completed her first round of revisions, and included in your agenda, taking up a ton of space, is the revision struck copy. And if you want to take a look at it and send me any feedback that you have for things that are incorrect or that need to be added or need to be taken out, please do that over the next couple of weeks. And Heather will be returning to work on this as of the 9th of January, and then we'll get it through the process, and it'll be rebranded with the new, well, I guess it's not new anymore, the municipal brand. That's it.
Good. And I'm going to send you some things just in case, what
Yeah.
to do in an emergency.
Oh, right, yes, yeah. She was, I think she may have touched on that a little.
Yeah,
In
a
the
little bit, but
revision?
we've actually got some boilerplate that could
Great.
just have a grab and go bag,
Great,
2 weeks supplies of this stuff.
yeah.
So I'll pass that on.
So a deadline for feedback in January 7th?
That would be good, and
Yeah.
then I can take a look and then just forward it to Heather. And it'll come through, the final will go to council for sign off, but it should be clean by the time it gets there. So early in the new year, we'll have a new edition, the 2020 edition. Anyway, thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. I'll be interested to see in the newcomer's guide, reflecting on how we are all hosts for tourists here on Bowen Island. You know, both for our own personal guests, but also, you know, as Bowen Islanders. And is that reflected in the guide at all? I don't know.
Well, you can read it.
I'll have to read it.
Okay, moving on.
Did you get a copy?
It's in the agenda. It's printed, but it's in the agenda, so.
Actually,
I'll talk to you about that offline. Back in time,
Okay.
in there now.
Oh, wasn't it in the updated agenda?
Her links didn't work, but I can show you how to go through the website.
Can we do that after the meeting, Steph? Steph, can we do that after the meeting?
Yes.
Because this was just, here it is, please read it. And it's now 11:45.
Oh, okay. I think I see it now, yes. I see it now. Oh, but, I see. I haven't looked and it was all weird. Okay, I got it.
Works now? We'll talk about it after.
I think there's what I'd like to propose for the Rural Islands Summit section is that we don't get into a longer discussion right now because the people who attended haven't had really the opportunity to meet outside of this meeting yet. The one thing that I will say is that from the executive committee, we did meet, you know, on a Zoom meeting post
You're talking about the Rural
the
Islands
Rural Island
Executive
Economic
Committee.
Summit, yeah. And there will be a meeting in January. I don't know the date off the top of my head, but it's like the second week of January or something. With the committee, which I was part of, the executive committee, and then the programming committee and other people. And the main questions at that point will be, you know, who wants to move forward, you know, and who do we want to open. This is before it gets opened up to new membership to the committees, because there is the movement forward, both probably to move towards having another forum, because the feedback initially from the participants was, yes, we would like to do this again. And in light of the lack of possibility of a rural dividend fund application, there definitely was interest in some of the executive committee people to look at other options. And it sounds like Cheryl, okay, I think it is, yeah, who is into this with Wendy Go from the province, McLean, is, you know, she's on board. So there's definitely a movement forward, both to do an ongoing society, which was originally called the Partnerships, it's not Rural Island Economic Partnership, and to have another meeting. And so we need to reflect on how it translates to us here on Bowen and what we learned and what we want to carry forward with, and then also how we want to potentially participate in an organization moving forward.
I want to emphasize this, we spent a fair chunk of money and invested an awful lot of time in this. And I think that we have to justify that, we have to come out of this with some things that, action items that can actually pertain to us. So I would encourage you, the folks who went and who are going to get together, to come out of your meeting with, these are things that we learned here that we can apply well, that's all I'd like to say.
Like the one I did?
Well, I guess I
sent to
just
all you guys.
echo what Ed's saying. There's an accountability piece here.
Yeah.
We spent, so I think that a minimum report has to be, come back to the committee so that if we get pushback, budget process, we've got to cut. You know, I have no idea what the total budget's going to look like, but I'm scared, given what's going on in all the other municipalities and the asset management work that's going on and so forth. So if somebody says, well, we've got to trim budgets, and we've got a budget line in here for this thing for the next year, but, okay, who went, how much money did we spend, who participated in the pre and how much time was spent, and what benefit are we seeing from that investment? And we're gonna need that before the end of January.
Yeah.
I just want to elaborate on, I sent an email kind of like what was my findings from the RIEF.
To everybody on the committee?
That's the step we didn't get to yet. So kind of the last email, how we left it at the end of November. This one was from you,
Well, we were
Stef.
gonna try and get together a meeting, but we just never did.
Well, but it also said, and then, so the email says, Ed, I'll add the notes and publish on the website after the next CEDC meeting. I'd like to get a committee resolution before declaring something an official record.
This is me?
Yeah,
Okay. I made some notes. Ed made some notes. I was gonna take some time to put them together.
yeah.
I didn't have a chance to do that before today, but maybe the next meeting, we can make an official notes.
Okay.
Well, I
So
think we need the official report so that Maureen and I have got something. The discussion about is this a valuable budget item
The health and wellness.
for 2020.
event.
So
No, the
we're talking
RIF.
about the forum.
The forum.
Pender Forum.
We're on Pender Island.
We're on
I
Pender
know we
Island.
are, but I thought we came back to, sorry, I wouldn't, yeah.
And then that's what, did we get value for what we invested for this year?
Okay.
Yeah.
And then if there's future, so that then justifies having the budget that we
Yeah.
got requested.
So can we have that for next
Yeah.
meeting?
And
Yeah.
well, we're gonna have to
Or-
because
Yeah.
of, looking at the budget consultation
Like, I
timeline,
think,
that's gonna be out public probably.
Yeah, just doing it.
like, I brought up that email to kind of mention that, like, we've
Late
started
January,
the
early
process, but we haven't all really gotten together to summarize it, and once we do that, we're definitely sending something on to council. But we have
Well, you need to
started.
report to this committee, and then that
Report
would.
to this committee, and then
Yes,
council.
and
This
then
is
that
great.
would
Make
go,
recommendation
yeah.
to council.
So it has
Okay.
to be on the
So our
January
next
agenda.
Right.
exam-
The
Yeah.
final
This is my
report.
January.
And I think at the end of
For the
the report,
for
we'll
this committee,
show,
It's mid-January.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we need to have a meeting about this before that.
yes,
And
Yeah.
it should include Jay and Robin and who was.
Alice.
That's
Alistair.
why we tried to get
Alistair,
it.
yes.
Alistair
Yeah,
came.
just
Okay.
we're
Just
not
nobody
jumping
was around.
Yeah, whoever went.
Whoever went,
Yeah.
they're on this
Yeah.
committee.
that's right.
Yeah.
There's Jay right there,
Yes.
front and center.
Oh.
I
So-
mean, he went on
So
his
I
own
can-
hook, but,
He did, yeah.
So,
Yeah, so he's maybe interviewed.
but no, I
So
think
did
his
Alistair.
input on
Oh,
on
absolutely.
the relevance
I
to
can
us
send
and
you a
the
report.
value of it for the
Yeah.
community, for the money we put in.
Okay,
Time.
so,
Yeah.
so as far as that, we'll circulate
That's
and meet early in the new year. What is our next meeting date? You're
Well, I
proposing?
just
said
done with
January.
We're going to do the monthly meetings?
Oh, it's the 10th,
I believe I've got,
it says 10th here.
we don't,
except we may change it.
garbage.
It's
Yeah.
fine, I don't like Monday meet, but we can do it. I
But
can-
you know what, we're
Yeah.
neighbors, I can just come and pick you up. Here you here.
It's fine, I'll just plan for it.
Is anyone unable to do a dreaded Monday morning? We're
If I have enough
Monday
notice, I'm
mornings are
usually able
boring.
to make it work.
Well, there's 3 people that aren't here, so that might be,
What time?
oh, this
Here's-
is Thursday morning, never mind.
Maureen can make it.
This is yours.
Okay.
What time?
It would be 9:30.
And,
Obviously, yes, not PM, yes.
sorry,
I
I'm
think
tired.
and then the concern that you had was that it's nice to be on a council day because then you can have 2 free Mondays in your life.
Yeah,
Um,
2 free weeks, it doesn't mess up another week.
Yeah, so.
Or a weekend.
We used to have stuck home improvements on Mondays because Councilor Kale preferred that, and it was inevitably kicked off because there'd be a cow or a close.
Okay,
But
but
the
this-
9:30 a.m.
Yeah.
probably keeps us early enough that
Well,
we're.
yeah, because the way people's work schedules are, we can't start anything before 4 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
At council.
Okay, perfect.
So where it was calling in before is we were having morning meetings on a
Yeah.
regular, or afternoon meetings on a regular basis, so.
Well, not now.
Not, yeah.
Dan, you were proposing the third Monday?
I prefer the 2nd or the 4th
The second or the fourth.
Monday, just because
So I think,
that falls with the council meetings, and then if you want to try and plan a week away or 10 days away, then you're
So
not.
that's the 13th.
So that'll
or
be
the
January
20th.
13th then.
the second is not gonna work, because Maureen,
So it's the 27th.
so we're on the 4th, and that puts us But I think,
This is on the 27th.
That's the 27th then, of January?
yeah, so that's tough for what we got on the plate for this month.
Well, I think if we were going to do that, then we should still have our January 10th meeting and then have two meetings closer
No.
together.
Because we have a lot of work to do. If we're gonna have to, get, it's hard getting everyone together.
But
And
we do the
this report
3rd
about
for
the conference,
January.
right?
We
And
could
then
do
the
the one
4th
that we were
moving
gonna
forward.
do for the RAF on the 10th. We
Sorry?
could just keep that date.
What's the REF?
The
Rhode
RAF.
Island.
Yeah,
Economic
not have an official meeting,
Oh,
but
I
have.
thought you said AF, and that's what.
No, sorry, RAF. I
Get
just,
rid of that
I
acronym.
squished it together.
Yeah.
I'll just get right on that. But we could do that to just discuss what we were gonna do prior to the CEDC meeting.
Okay.
So we could just keep that date that we had in
On
on
the
the
10th?
10th, yeah.
Not as an official
No,
CEDC
no,
meeting.
no,
but
just
yeah.
as us meeting for that group.
Yeah.
Well, we
Because
had
we've
to
got
get
that
to see that
booked
with
in
any
when
other
they-
groups.
Well, we've got a couple of timing issues. We've got this report from you
Robin,
guys
Jay, Julian.
for, which we need to have for backup for budget.
Mhm.
And we've also got to plan for the business summit, which if we're
We
gonna
do, yeah.
stick it out in February,
That's true.
then
Yeah, if it's
the end of
super late,
January is
yeah.
way too late.
Yeah, it's-
What's
So-
on this agenda?
But we don't need, but we're not gonna be able to do that in this meeting today, and we're not gonna be able to
No,
wait
but-
until the
but-
27th. But it doesn't have to be in an official meeting planning for the business
No,
summit.
Yeah.
So maybe on the 10th, we should do both things and not, and
Sure.
we can do them back to back, and people who want to attend both can, and people who don't can attend the one that they want.
So that's the business summit planning meeting and the RIF summary meeting?
Mhm.
Okay.
So leave those, have that meeting on the 10th.
On the
Those
10th.
that are interested.
Yeah.
And then have the 27th as the regular meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that works for Maureen? Steph?
Yes.
What time? 9:30 a.m.?
Yeah. I mean, well, yeah, I guess, because there will be a council meeting on the 10th. No, we're not the 10th, it's a
27th.
Friday, yeah.
In that afternoon,
Yeah.
So the council's on the
second and fourth Monday.
The 13th.
So Rob, are you gonna send out another email or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
to
So
everybody?
the 31st? No,
Is it
27th.
27th.
27th. It's gonna be hard to get EDC
Yeah.
on a Fridays in my mind.
Yeah.
A long time of Fridays.
Well, why don't you try that on for size for the other people that aren't here?
Yeah, and we have, for the Rural Island Working Group, we have the other people who are not on
Do
the
we have
committee.
spots
so-
open now?
I think there was one.
But Kim's no longer on, right?
What?
Well, I don't
Kim
know,
Brooks?
she's let me know that she's going to step down, but I thought you would have received something. You haven't. Okay, there you go. So
Forward me that email, please.
I'll talk to Kim.
Thank you.
And Kirsten's still on,
Yeah.
and that's it, right? Let's see,
And
this is us.
Michael would definitely probably prefer Mondays, not midweek.
He's already expressed extreme joy.
Okay, so before we leave the Rural Island agenda item, I would make one comment that that Wendy's comments today reflect, I think, the province's enthusiasm with what happened.
Yeah.
And so when we are talking about initiatives that make sense for us here on Bowen, I mean, if they involve the province,
Yeah.
whether it's funding or participation by staff time or other things from the province, I think that we'll find that there's been a lot of goodwill and leverage created there. And not just the province, but I think another very interesting reflective comment that was made by Mark Collins, the CEO of BC Ferries, was that he thought, after he did a presentation and
Yeah.
took questions, and he, I have to say, he appeared genuinely and warmly engaged with the group afterwards, and he stood
He's
up.
that type of person.
He stood up and said that BC Ferries would be paying for travel for all of the participants next year.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
That's what he said.
We'll do it in cake.
We'll do it in Cancun, yeah.
Tell them it's gonna be 2 in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Fairies.
So, a curiosity, how many people were there from other than the southern Gulf Islands?
Well,
pretty much all.
one of the main
Like,
organizers, the co-chair, Pat, from Malcolm Island,
okay, so up that.
was there were a number of First Nations groups that were there and down from Northern Ireland as well.
So Cortez and Quadra and
Cortez was there,
And
Quadra was not.
Malcolm
What was
Island,
Quadra there?
Gabriola,
Gabriola, yeah,
Hornby, Denman.
yeah.
Yeah.
No one from Texada, that's.
Yeah, that was the
Texas,
only
that
one
was the
that
one.
stuck out that didn't call me.
They tried.
Yeah,
But the
Was there-
ferry
Was there
shut down.
someone from Muskegon? I don't know. There was quite a contingent from Cortez.
yeah, there was.
Cortez had a
So
lot.
it went all the way
Salt
up.
Spring
Yeah,
had a lot.
Salt Spring had
Well, no, I
loads.
was.
And so did the Big Island.
What do you mean, big, oh, Vancouver Island?
Well, that was a lot of government
Yeah,
type people.
yeah, there was.
Yeah, because it didn't actually include the
So is that, do you want that in the report then, Allison, like which
Well, I
location
think the
and-
fact that it covered the whole,
Mhm.
yeah, like who was actually there, there were representatives from, you
Yeah.
know.
We didn't get a participant list in the end.
They were supposed to send us one, right?
Well,
I
they
think
asked
that-
for people to volunteer, and the people who volunteered to have their names and contact information shared amongst the group, because that would be
Yeah.
really helpful. That, I got the list.
Oh, 'cause
And,
I
and there's
need to-
maybe,
Oh,
I don't know, 20 people
there's
on
a
it?
couple people I need to get a hold of, and I need to, I
Well,
haven't got their information.
I'll send you what I have,
Yeah.
but there's maybe 20.
No.
So just a little background, that, you know, it was held XY days.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm making these notes.
These, you know, how many people attended and that they were representing islands from, you know, all the islands up the coast up to Malcolm Island were represented. Because I think Malcolm's probably the most northern.
So you had to have completed something that said you wanted to agree to have your name on it. Did
Yeah.
you do that?
I can't
I'll see if you're on it.
I don't even remember
Okay,
being
you know what,
asked.
I'll just send it to you, I don't think it's a big deal.
Just as a side, did any of you see the evaluation forms?
Yeah.
Okay, so the raw data.
Oh, the data from the evaluation, I think I did get a
Okay.
email on it.
It was very good.
Yeah, so that kind of
Yes,
comment that the
yes,
participants
yes,
were asked to fill out an evaluation
yes.
form.
Was that
The
public?
general,
I
yeah.
don't
Same
know
as
if it's
you, I
public.
don't-
No, I don't mean it.
I don't know, I did that, just to
It's not a report, it's just all the, it's got names, but
I
at some
have
point
it
we
on.
could aggregate that.
Gibson's.
So here, I'm just putting these to make this reporting process easier for you
See what's
guys.
on this list.
If that's what they want, what days it was held on, how many people attended, who went, what islands were they representing. Might be worth saying Victoria, people were mostly government,
Yeah, I'm not worried. I mean, I thought it
and
was.
BC Ferries.
Yeah, no, they weren't included, Vancouver Island wasn't included as part of the
Oh, okay.
invitees, it was just that some people happened to be from.
Do you want to see what topics were covered?
Yeah, Vancouver Island isn't, well, there's rural communities on it, but it's not a rural island.
Well, they
Could
have
we
their own-
share the
they have their own
agenda?
summit, right? So this
Yeah.
was sort of
Yeah.
in response
That could be
to
an
kind of
appendix.
the
Or-
outer islands and everything.
You have an extra F up there, RIEFFF.
Mm.
Well, that's just
It
more
was
for
really-
you for information.
It was a
Yeah,
fabulous.
yeah.
No, I know, this is just notes for
Yeah.
them. I'm gonna send them out a staff report template.
Yeah,
And these
okay,
notes,
so
just
we
to
don't
have
need
that.
to.
No, that's not a resolution, this
No,
is just notes.
no, okay, so let's carry on.
Okay, so I don't think, without Kirsten here, we don't have the digital
No.
roadmap working group.
But she wrote a nice piece, if you guys wanna look at that.
Is it detached?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's long, it's,
It's not long, it's only 3/4 of a page.
oh no, it's. And then we have the. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you're right.
Okay. You
Do
read
you
it
know
home,
which-
guys?
Yeah.
Which page
Look,
is
that's
it?
not
53.
From what I see here, and I'll just make my observation, is in this discussion that Kirsten's had with us, all of us, is that really the cornerstone of the digital strategy is finding out what people need, not necessarily thinking about the technology or what's available, but what are our problems, identifying those problems and then figuring out if there are technological
But the
solutions.
roadmap is not, if I was understanding it correctly, it's how we use technology
Yes.
to
The result is how, what
to address our
technology. Yeah,
problems
that's
and
right.
improve life on
That's right.
Bowen.
And as it turned out, do you remember Peter Elkin, who was part of that presentation that they
Mhm.
had here?
Yeah.
So he
was
was a
there,
presenter
too.
at the
Yeah.
forum, but in another capacity.
Great
It was very
presentation.
interesting,
Yeah.
yeah.
I went to his, I took a lot of notes from that.
What was the topic?
It was like funding, finding funding
Finding
for
money.
government programs.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, he has a new front that he's starting, it's like a private thing where you get that.
Community, leveraging community capital is
Yeah.
sort of his.
Yeah, I think,
area.
yeah, that-
And there were quite a number of people that were in that area. Okay, so let's revisit that with Kirsten as well. That takes us back to Helen.
Oh, okay. So Daniel has commissioned a housing and needs assessment as part of what they're doing. And it's with these guys, Banix.
Daniel's housing.
That's Daniel's housing needs assessment, yeah.
Which we got $15,000 funding from the province
Yes.
to do.
And they said, oh, hey, so as part of an additional doodad, we could also do an economic analysis for you guys if you want. And they sent him a proposal. So he passed that on to me, obviously, because it's economic stuff. And I went through it, and I wanted to talk to you guys about it because what they've sent me is actually a proposal for, well, first of all, it's mostly traditional economic development, which is not quite what I need them to do. And it's all to do with the use of land. So it's like a land inventory kind of economic analysis. So it's all to do with what they call employment land uses.
Task 1 and Task 2 to me aren't really relevant.
Well, no, so I've gone through the whole thing, you'll see.
But I'm not sure about Task 3.
I've gone through, wait a minute, hold your horses, give me comments in a minute. So I've gone through the whole thing, because obviously a lot of the stuff they're proposing I've actually already done too. So I've gone through the whole thing and written my notes, and so I wanted to talk to you guys about it because also they're saying it's going to cost like 15 grand, which is a hell of a lot of money. So I wanted to just talk to you guys and say, hey, I've had this proposal, I've gone through it already. There are a lot of things in here that I think are probably not relevant. If I was going to engage these guys, then I would actually be asking them to look at it more from a community economic development perspective, because this actually isn't a community economic development perspective. And so I just wanted to sort of whiz through it and get your thoughts. I know we're super over time, but because this is such a massive amount of money, and because obviously it needs to tie into what I'm doing, that's why I want to talk to you guys about it, because as I mentioned earlier, I want to bring you guys into the consultation piece I'm going to be doing anyway. So I don't even know if I need to engage these guys, because we're technically going to be working on this portion
I
anyway.
think this is your job description.
It kind of is. So the first part, task 1, I've already done. Task 2, it wouldn't just be the employment lands inventory. Now, if you're not sure what that is, an employment lands inventory basically is you look at the sort of lands we have in relation to how
Industry and commercial uses.
industry and commercial uses, and how you can use them for what types of employment you've got, for what you're doing now, and how you then project it for future, so what your future needs are in terms of employment, and then you make recommendations. So that's kind of what that's all about. Vancouver is doing a lot of that now, because what Vancouver is realising is that they don't have enough land for what their future employment needs will be. But obviously for
So that applies to the whole map.
it does. But for Bowen it's slightly different, because we're not Vancouver, like we're rural, our land is
So you're
different,
gonna
our
build
needs are
floating
different.
islands.
So
Get
we already
the
do
out of
that.
floating
So
island.
we are kind of different, like so our stuff's
The
a bit
airport.
different. So for us, it only forms part and parcel of a CED assessment. Like, we actually need to be doing like community assets mapping. You know, there's a lot of other stuff that goes into a CED assessment. It's not just employment land. So it's just a tiny portion of it. So there is some stuff in that that's useful, but it's a tiny portion.
Sorry, how did this come about?
It was because they're doing the housing needs assessment.
Oh, they
so
are.
they said, "Ooh, we could
No, we
also
could
do
do
this."
She threw it in, so.
Yeah, they threw it in as an add-on, basically.
Is there anything here you think you can't do?
No,
I've seen the task 3 data somewhere.
we've got it. I've written it down. Have this already. Have this already. Have this
Where have I
already.
seen it?
It's on all the government websites. It's through the NIACS codes.
Yeah, I know.
So the government, all the government
Yeah,
jobs.
but
that
I was
are on
actually
our
somewhere and there
websites.
was a presentation made.
Oh yeah, it's in a
Quite
lot of the
amazing.
presentations
Yeah.
we've already done.
Well,
So
it
it's
wasn't
in
anything
those.
on
So number 3, we've already got all of that information in various presentations that we've done.
Number 4 you're gonna do.
Number 4 I'm doing, but not as phone interviews, because we shouldn't be doing them over the phone. We should be doing them in person. And that's essentially what I was talking to you guys about, and saying this is what we're going to be doing next.
Yeah, I don't see this
so-
as being, I think there might be a couple
think-
of technical
I
things here,
think
you might want to
number
hire.
5 could potentially be useful.
Economic trends?
The economic base analysis and the trends and things that could potentially
There's a
be
couple of-
useful.
Reports that were about 10 years ago that were done,
Yes.
the ones that.
So if they could update on
there was
those,
how
it
much
might
did
be.
Oh, yeah, okay, I've got a whole pile
Oh,
of reports.
okay, thanks.
6 might be useful because we get demographic data
So-
that surrounds us.
Yes, so 6, but it needs to be part of a larger SWOT analysis,
Yeah.
which I'm doing.
Yes.
So, so if that formed part of the larger SWOT analysis that I was already doing, that would be great.
Yes.
Which I've noted. And 7, there are parts of 7 I think that would be useful also. So the projected employment growth I think could potentially be useful. And the thing at the bottom there, saying the consultant will examine results of the above assessment, yada yada yada, making recommendation with regards to appropriate strategies, land use regulation and public policy approaches. That bottom one, I think that could potentially be useful.
But can you hire them just to do like bits?
That's what I'm hoping, yes, because I don't need all of
I
this.
feel like there was some interest about it because they're gonna be in the community
Yeah.
doing the housing needs assessment, and they're really pro. Sort of like while you're there, they can.
But the thing
gather
is, because, so here's my thing. Because the way that you do CED consultation is very different to what they're doing
Yes.
here. And so the way that you do it is you do like visioning and you do workshops and you talk to everybody in a very specific way, and that isn't what they're proposing here or how they'll be doing the housing needs assessment. It's not how they'll be talking to the community, and because I haven't quite mapped out with us yet how we're going to be doing the consultation, I'm not quite there yet, and I'm not going to be there until the end of January, and they're starting at the beginning of January, so the timeline doesn't quite match up for when they'll be here. And what they're proposing is not them coming over doing loads of in-person consultation either, if you look at this. So that would cost a lot of money. And because we are going to be doing that anyway, I don't know if it's worth me getting them to do that, or if we should just be doing it.
Can they unbundle this?
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah,
There might be a couple of really technical,
That's
you
what I
know,
think.
things that they could help you with, like, but honestly, this is your
kind of
job
what I'm
description.
doing, yeah.
And our committee I'm very interested in having this little working group
Well, that's
to work with
kind
you,
of
and
what
let's get
for
really
the
into it.
consultation and the visioning and the
Because you know what,
working
there's
with
also
people.
other really great people on the island that can fill in a couple of gaps that
Yeah.
you may not be able to do.
Yeah.
But one of the things, I guess, I'm looking at a lot of this and thinking, no, it's not. But the only thing where I think it might be useful for an outside consultant is
Yeah.
where we've failed in previous years
Yeah.
is, and we've even had outside, like Destination BC or Tourist
Yeah.
BC, as they were called. We were trying to get data on room nights and occupancy
Yeah.
rates, and people didn't want to play with us. And they were even reluctant to play with Destination BC.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
think
That's all changing though because of the taxes and if the MRDT, all that stuff.
Well, there's a
fully
lot
available.
more information.
Yeah,
But only for the MRDT when it comes to the tourism businesses. The other small businesses and home-based occupations and things like that, I think you might be better having an independent outside third party getting that information, because then it won't be available.
Right.
It will be more tracked in a general sense and statistics rather than, oh, you know, somebody, municipality now knows that XYZ is doing this, this, and this. So that's the only place where I can see. I'm a little concerned that they say this will serve as a complement to the housing needs report. That they're not just
No.
focusing the housing needs
Right.
report on the need of
Yes.
housing for employees, because there's more than just employees that need housing,
Yeah.
seniors.
Oh, I thought this was gonna be our final, you know, sort of like,
Yeah.
real
Yeah, I'm not
document we
sure.
can actually work with then.
Yeah.
So you think, sorry, give me 1 sec, sorry, I just want to make sure I capture this. So you think it'd be useful to get information on room deadline?
Well, no, I use that as an example.
Yeah.
But I mean, if
But
you're
the
gonna
stuff
go
that we
talk
find
to a
out to
business
capture.
that's a home-based
Yeah.
business and trying to find out kinds of volumes
Yeah.
they do and everything, they're not gonna tell you.
No.
Yeah, and when,
And you might be able to fish that out
Yeah.
with a survey-type questionnaire.
years ago when we did the
Done by
business
somebody
research,
else,
Yeah.
yeah.
we,
Unanimous.
We toyed with asking some
Anonymous.
Anonymous.
financial data,
Yes.
and just.
Or even number of customers,
Yes, and I dropped
or
it,
number of
just
tables
dropped that with a couple,
occupied
and
on
I
the
said, I might want to
average.
share that with
Yeah.
the Muni or my
Okay.
competitors. So
Yeah.
An
Okay.
outside firm
Yeah.
gives us much better data that
You know,
way.
it'd be really interesting with
But they
some
still-
restaurants to get some
They
sort
might.
of data
Is there
on.
any going back to the
you know,
meeting to inform
They
Well,
must
the
have
BC
a,
will
I'm sure they have a
be-
standard
it'll be,
construct, but I can't remember
aggregating?
Yeah.
my business days. But they, you know, number of customers per hour or tables used per hour and stuff.
Yeah,
Because,
okay.
you know,
But that's so diverse.
no, but
January compared to
well, I know, but it would be
Yeah.
interesting to have that data
Tuscany's closed.
on high season and low season and
Yeah.
off season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it helps us.
Yeah,
for-
but I think if you sit down with them, that some of them would be willing to actually
But they
share
won't
that.
all be,
As-
and it's,
yeah.
that's
Here-
good.
It's gonna be a generalization anyways,
Mhm.
an estimate. So I'm glad to
Okay,
see,
carry
because I
on.
read this last night and I thought, what the
Yeah,
heck?
I know.
You know,
So I'm glad you said that. It doesn't seem to me a particularly good fit of the
Yes.
whole community,
Yeah.
so that was, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
The other thing, before engaging, because it seemed really traditional, that kind of
Yes.
traditional economic
Yes.
development thing. They say at some point, either on their website or in this, that they did a plan for like a few other places, Salt Spring, have you seen those?
I haven't.
Because I would be curious, for
So
instance, to
would I.
look at Salt Spring, maybe
Yeah,
they
'cause
can
that would be
share.
relevant.
Because,
So-
and see what kind of information they got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Given Bowen, I'm always a little bit hesitant.
Me too, I was
to-
interested because most of them were rural.
Yeah, exactly,
And
but
then
also
like-
Salt Spring is the closest as far as I
Yes,
can
was the
see.
closest. Yeah, the
To
rest of
see
them
what
were
info they
bigger.
got, and was it valuable,
Yeah.
and it was it helpful,
We also
and does it
have-
fit what our goals and
Yeah,
objectives
I
are?
thought the same thing.
and we also have a purchasing policy,
Yes.
and you can't sole source.
No, I mean, I did talk to Daniel about that and said, did you know, go through all the things we're supposed to go through to question these guys, which obviously
Yeah.
you did.
Yeah,
So I could probably piggyback onto that because he's
No,
already
no,
gone through
no,
it.
no. You have,
But,
you, I think this is the sort of thing where you would clearly want to go for,
go through it.
for
Yeah,
quotes,
yeah.
or
Well, yeah,
RFP.
yeah, if I
I'd do
wanted
an
to.
RFP, not a,
Yeah.
not a quote.
Okay, so if you're asking this committee for feedback,
Yeah, it was just to
Um,
get your thoughts, to see if they were in line with mine, which I think they are.
yeah,
Mhm.
so,
Yeah.
so I think, do you wanna just take a stab at a brief statement and we'll just create an on the record feedback for you?
No, we supported the community economic, whatever Helen's title is, recommendation, concerns with their proposal and that it's not appropriate
Yeah.
It's in entirety.
In
in
its
its
entirety.
entirety.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that, and then the other thing I'll just point out is we have a purchasing policy process. So anything over 5,000 you're supposed to get quotes
Yeah.
for. Anything over 10, you have to do a little more competitive.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, this was 15. So
yeah,
it's-
and I think it's the sort of thing that should go out for an RFP. And
If
you
we were
might-
gonna do it.
if we're gonna do any sort of hiring, request.
So importantly though, it's not the right time for us to
It's
engage on
not.
this anyway.
No.
So let's say, we recognize, with Helen's feedback that it's not the appropriate time.
It's not
and
what we need.
And it's not what we need. Yeah. Okay, good.
Excellent recommendation. Don't want it,
That
don't
was
need it.
long.
That makes sense.
Don't want it, don't need it, costs too much.
Thank you so much.
2 questions for me. Are you going to try to get little pieces out of it? Or no?
I don't think you need to decide
No,
right now.
The best idea is to get Salt Springs, because it's probably.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see Salt Springs, and then
Yeah.
once we get a little further along and you find that there's a part here you really need, you can't
That's
do,
it.
you can find a consultant, whether it's them or
That's it.
someone else,
I
right?
think that's what we'll do, so I think we'll probably, I think we'll move forward with what we were doing in terms of like our consultation piece, which is next, and planning that whole process. And then as we get further down the line in terms of developing the plan, or I should say as I develop the plan, you guys don't have to write it, but if there are things that I need, as Alison's saying, in terms of developing statistics and stuff like that, and I'm either like, geez, I can't do this, or I need more information and I need an external body to help me with that, then that would probably be the time to look at engaging somebody to help with that piece of it, I think.
Okay, that the committee supports the community economic development officer's concerns with the urbanics proposal and the purchasing policy stipulates that we can kind of fix this later. Full source and.
We agree that
Just as long as you
analysts-
understand.
The urban analysts should not be hired to
Yes, I think that'd be better.
do the proposal, whatever it is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, mover.
We agree with Helen.
Okay, seconds, all in
No,
favor?
I had a question.
All right, any opposed? Yeah? No?
You had a question,
No opposed?
Motion?
Okay.
That struck me for quite a while. I'm hesitant even to voice it, but wouldn't the time have come to do a new OCP? And maybe an OCP primarily devoted to this issue? Because
Well,
there's
maybe
so many issues which have never been addressed.
I think what part
did
of
a
all of
review.
this
I did
is
a review.
we can have updates to the
Yeah.
to the OCP to properly reflect economic development,
Yeah.
and we started on that in 2014. We identified a whole series of things in both the OCP and the land use bylaw that they needed to be addressed to help facilitate economic development. And it just got too close to the election, and it got dropped. So, yeah.
Need to know, Wolfgang, what are some of the issues you really do feel that this committee should be looking at? I'd love to hear
I
that.
think you should list them out.
It's intimidating because we are working on several rezoning applications and we are clueless as to what will the island do in the next 50, 20 years.
Right.
So for us to come out and say, what we would suggest is actually it's audacious, it's probably disrespectful, and we may look like all those guys, they know it all. It would be much easier if that would fit into something which had been generated within the
It's in
community.
my remit, so I went through the OCP and the bylaws, because it is as part of the CED plan development, that's part of the remit of that. So I went through them all to see where they complement each other and where they conflict. And so as part of the development of the plan, I've got to make suggestions for where we should be making revisions and changes to both of those, so that they actually do work together, because at the moment they don't work together very well. And so that's with a view to us being able to do those amendments. Because, and I know that Daniel also is doing the same thing, the housing committee are doing the same thing, and so the hope is that all of us will be working on those as a whole, like a cohesive group, and we'll be presenting them all so that those changes can be made, so that they do actually work, so that people like yourself and other groups will be
So
able
I
to
think
work with them.
we never did update the land use
No.
bylaw after we did the
No.
2010 revisions for the OCP.
Right.
So there's a disconnect
Yeah.
between the land use
Yeah.
bylaw and the OCP. But the other study and review that we did when the Economic Development Committee first got going, and I think I gave you those
You
two
did,
things that
yeah.
were done in 2014. We actually looked at the OCP to identify the sections that disincentivized
Yeah.
or prohibit, or
Yeah.
it didn't help facilitate, but actually inhibited
Yes.
economic development and things that needed to be changed. And that report was presented to council. And we did have a public information meeting on it, and then it just got too close to
Yeah.
election time, and it didn't go any further. And,
And I couldn't agree with that.
Yeah,
but
so I
there's
could
one
certainly
element
think that.
which I still haven't come to terms with. The soul, spirit, the mindset of Bowen today, pretty soon 2020, is completely different than it was 10 years ago.
It's 5 years ago.
5 years ago.
Yeah.
I would say Bowen Island has changed in the last 3 years, probably more than in the 30 years. And that's, I don't know what triggered it, probably a natural.
In what way, Wolfgang?
The mindset, if you socialize, if you get with people together, you meet them on the ferry, you talk. What worries them, what they hope for, what concerns them is completely different than what would have raised excitement or anger or angst 10 years ago.
Yeah.
The mindset, the collective awareness. This place we love, we want hope that it gets even better. How do we preserve? Preserve and protect in a completely different way. It was always the steep slopes and the trees and so on. Right now it's more the ambiance, the lifestyle, the community.
The fair.
The community.
fits in with your.
Ferry has
Yes.
always been consistent.
Yeah, but it's getting worse,
Yeah,
I think.
but I think it's partly, like I've noticed, a lot of the people that were saying, oh, we don't need any houses, we don't need any small houses. Your children are all trying to find a place to live here now, and they can't.
Yeah.
You know, that has a big change.
Anyways, I'd love to hear more about it. Let's get
Yeah,
a little
and
working
and
group
this
going
is
and have
what
these
is
discussions.
Well,
maybe
also
good discussions to
certainly-
take with Helen.
Well,
and-
Yeah, they are.
I think
You're on
in
my
terms
list
of
of
the,
people.
that one.
The-
you know,
You're on my list of people to talk to.
I
Oh,
will
I feel
circulate the
honored.
report that you did back in 2014.
The-
Yeah, that'd be great, Alison, you
Yeah.
send it to all the committee members. Okay, so can we leave that for now?
Yeah, that's great, thanks, that was really helpful. That's great.
So, planning has not begun really in any respect for the summit, other than we've identified in our budget and otherwise that we want to have one. I
Do we
think.
have feedback forms from the participants from the last one?
Yes.
Yes.
Did we get those, or did we just send it out?
I think there was some sort of summary email done.
We got
There
the
was,
stuff
uh,
typed
yes.
up.
Well,
Yeah,
then
I've
is that
seen
right?
this.
Is it on the January 10th meeting agenda?
Yeah.
Have a meeting about that and
We are, yeah.
and the forum summary?
I guess the
Yeah.
only thing I was thinking of was the date.
Yeah, just as a primer, I think maybe we should take a quick look at
Yeah.
potential dates.
Yeah.
And I'd like to take the temperature on whether we should have our keynote with regards to tourism and perhaps Destination BC. And, you know,
Well, I think,
we can talk about that more
Yeah.
on the 10th for sure, but, you know, if
the
that
other
is.
would be
that-
Kirsten's roadmap, digital roadmap.
Yeah, could
That
be
would
digital,
the-
could be digital.
Oh, that would be an excellent venue for that conversation, for working groups.
Yeah.
Because I ran into a bit of a, we asked people what their problems are, and they say time and budget.
Yep.
So, okay, we need a bigger conversation than this to
Yeah.
flesh this out.
Yeah.
So Kirsten was gonna come around to committee, she's so busy.
Oh, there's no way. She can't even make it to this meeting.
Barely. So she may do a bit of that, we're gonna highlight committees that may, but what an excellent idea.
Well, I was just reading her thing, and she's talking about a draft digital
Yeah.
strategy ready in 20, you know, I don't know what her timing is, but
If she
something
doesn't have, her
around
timing is, we'll be supporting.
the end of February or early March or something.
Yeah.
That's the business summit timeframe, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it is. Yeah, it's February, wasn't it?
Yeah, I wanna say February, we're trying to stay away from spring break, but I think we're
Well,
gonna.
spring break's the
When's
last 2
spring
weeks of
break?
March.
So we could do early March then, that'd be a nice time.
I guess that was my question. What was the feedback from people as to A, the time?
You've blindsided me a little bit. I don't remember. I
Yeah.
don't even know where the forms are. I'm also taking minutes.
Okay, well,
Can I
let's just refer that to the, you know, for our meeting.
For on the 10th.
Let's make
Yeah,
sure we know
yeah,
that.
I'll dig that up for the 10.
Yeah.
I think that maybe the same with your question about the speakers and things, Rob.
Yeah,
You need to-
absolutely.
You need to have a sit down and a think about what it is you actually want to get out of it for you guys and for the businesses, and have a vague sort of planning around, because I think your idea about the tourism's awesome. I think it's great about the digital roadmap. There's so many things you could do, so it's like the kind of direction that you want to go in. So you've got to think about like what it is that you want to get out of it and what you're trying to do for your businesses. And so
Have
you
a
know,
whole meeting about it.
yeah, you need to have a meeting about it, because you
On
need
the
to think,
10th.
what is it that we actually want to do here, and that will help you decide,
Well,
you
and
know,
the
who it
feedback
is you
from
want.
the
Yeah,
last
well,
part,
that's
the
it.
last
So
participants
that'll
as
help
to,
you, that'll help you pull that out.
whether they found it useful.
And I don't know. Well, the answer is,
Well, also, I think those are two great things. Well, also, I remember that, like, the last one was a lot about emergency preparedness.
it was.
And I think it might be good to, like, you know, have some sort of continuation of that. That was the biggest theme in the last
Oh,
one.
that was business continuity.
It
I don't
wasn't the
remember.
biggest theme,
No,
right?
that was a tack on. He
That was
he
a
did his
tack on.
presentation, and then he had 15 minutes left, and he
Oh,
and
yeah.
he talked. This is business resilience is what he loves,
Yeah.
Okay.
and it's the part of
Wasn't
community economic development that he really focused on. So he tossed that in, and we got mixed feedback. Some people found it very interesting. Some people thought it was like a word on
Yeah.
a fraud, unnecessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it would be an interesting.
And the questions that came out of the
Yeah.
little breakout groups weren't really related to that.
No.
Yeah.
Some were. And
Yeah.
surprisingly, some were,
Some were,
and
yeah.
some did not.
But having said that, it is becoming a larger issue, and it's not just earthquake and wildfire, it's cybersecurity, it's things like that. I mean, how do you,
That life flash thing.
yeah, yes, the life flash thing. I mean, how do you protect your business, and how do we come back from some sort of event?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's
So
a thought.
We did business continuity, I think, as an introductory one 3 years ago.
No.
Jen McGowan did a talk about it. She felt unprepared.
She did,
So we only had 2 of these, right?
we've had
No.
3
Oh.
3 or 4.
Of the summits.
Yeah.
I say 4 or 5.
No. No.
Yeah, we have.
Was the
Oh,
community economic
we did one in
development last
20.
year or the year
Yeah,
before?
it probably was before.
Twenty.
They have a
The
rest of it.
The one that I
Oh,
remember going to 2, I can't remember going to
We
one.
did 2015.
Was it last year?
One, two,
Or the year before?
3,
Jeremy's telling me.
4. I'm counting the one in the loop with the province as the 4th one.
Oh,
Was the dinner.
But
Okay, I'll put together a report. It will have what the topics have been for the 3
Oh, you know what,
summits.
that would be helpful.
Okay.
Just to remember.
Just volunteering.
Yeah, I'm getting old.
Okay, what the topics were for the 3 summits. It will include the feedback forms. It will include discussion from today regarding possible moving forward.
And we did ask them what topics they might want to have.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a year ago.
Well, you sent it to them all in the summer, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's right, actually. Topics, feedback, anything else?
Well, okay, so our action item right now is to meet
Well, we,
27th.
the 10th
on the
for
10th.
that one. And that's,
Will
we
you
gotta
send
pick a
out,
date.
because I don't need to be at the one about the forum, but I would like to be at the one about the,
What, they're doing them both on the same day.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
Maybe you do the one after the other,
Yeah.
one at 9 and one at 10 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the 10th is the forum and the summit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's
The
just where.
27th is
And wasn't
the-
there something about, okay.
So I'll come to the one about the summit.
We have discussed the 27th.
Well, the 27th is for our next regular meeting, but there's 2 little working groups that have got to do some preparation for the
Oh,
27th.
I'm glad we,
Yeah. So if you want to have some input on what the business summit should be all about, that's on the 10th. Otherwise,
Okay.
we'll just see you on the 27th.
So should we do,
Good.
should we do 9:30 to 11 for Rilla and Forum, and then 11 to 12:30 for?
That's what I was gonna say, oh, okay.
What's that?
I was gonna ask to do the summit first, and that way I can
Okay,
hop into that and then skitter away and do whatever's actionable that comes out of that.
okay,
Is that okay?
yeah.
So you
that's
want us here at 9:30 for the business summit?
January
10th.
Friday.
You've already sent the invite out?
It should be out there, yeah.
And so we're gonna be able to use this room? Is
Mhm.
that fine?
Mhm. And then it's gonna be 11 o'clock to,
12:30.
okay.
I haven't received my,
Actually, I think I'll propose for the Rural Island Forum one that we go to the pub for lunch. We either have it at the pub, or we do it here,
Can we
start.
just do it here, just knock it through, because then, yeah, because I don't want to be changing.
so you
menus.
send out an invite?
Can we
Yeah.
just,
No, we'll do it
Should be
here.
out as a.
I'm just talking about informally we'll meet up.
yeah.
So the summit, the business summit planning here, and then RIF.
Do we need more
Wrap
than an
up
hour
at
for the business
the pub.
summit planning?
We've got an hour and a
An
half.
hour and a half is
Yeah.
what
Do
we're
we
thinking.
need an hour and a half?
Do we need an hour and a half?
Yeah.
If not, we
If
can.
No.
not, that's fine.
Yeah, I was just then, I was just thinking you guys.
We could go from 10:30 to 12.
Yeah.
So, can I, then I'll just, a tiny bit
What?
more.
Sorry, which one's first?
The business summit.
The summit review, okay. For
Here.
now.
No, the summit, the business summit in the future.
Oh,
the-
Planning.
Planning session.
Do we need more than an hour? I wonder what is a summit?
It used to
but-
be called the summit, yes.
Yeah.
I was-
forum.
I was excited about Matt Matheson's new, what I thought was gonna be his new business, the big building by the llamas.
The cidery?
Robot thing.
Across
Yeah.
the street, there's underneath the apples, the cidery, yes, and he's got a nice full kitchen in there, and there's a nice big room upstairs where it could be held, however.
Zoning.
What?
We can't do it because we'd be breaking our own law.
Yeah, you can only have 30 people, so there's space for 10 billion people, but you can only do for 30, so maybe next year. So, I think we're gonna be, I was trying to shake it up, right, to help support a new business and.
Yes.
Oh, no, there's good parking and everything
It's just
else.
good
Yeah.
parking.
And it's in the middle of the island, for people who
Which
live
is
on the
nice
back,
for
like
Side of
me.
the island, you don't have to drive all the way across.
I know.
Oh, can we get temporary use permit?
Yeah, I just,
Yeah, maybe we could.
Yeah.
But that's
just,
a
this is,
whole,
You sent it to me with your mind.
but it's a whole process that we have to pay a
Yeah,
fee
but-
for and go
but
through
how long
public
does it-
notice
how long
and
does it take?
I know,
meetings,
but
3 months.
I do.
Serious?
Yeah, probably by the time we've got Christmas in here.
Well, I think they.
And we gotta go through a review process with the,
My.
it's not something that just comes to.
Okay, so then I think that we were just talking about short-term rentals, about, oh, they just got a temporary use permit.
Mhm.
And now we're saying we can't even, it's so onerous that we
Well,
can't even do
I'm not saying it's
that.
onerous, but there's a whole process.
Yeah.
So it has to be advertised to the neighbors have to have, it's not.
Is there anything we could do to
But
speed it
Helen
up?
could do that. She could talk to the neighbors.
No, it's not,
Yeah,
it's
that's
not
my-
like a noise exemption permit.
You're the official neighbor talker,
So
or,
good.
And it's
My
the
favorite.
applicant of the land has to bring it forward and all that stuff, so. I
I
just
thought you just said the African of
The
the land.
applicant. I
Let's go.
Since you-
Okay, I think we're good. We've got our date set to follow up. Meeting review.
Oh.
So, someone say something. We'll start. About
Okay.
this meeting.
No more toilets.
let's
Flush
that.
I like it. So I think it was productive.
Even though we went to 12:30?
We rambled.
Ordinarily, I would say I come out of here and say, well, yeah, something was discussed, and I got that off my chest with this bloody thought.
No, you're right.
Yeah, it's good enough.
Okay. Natasha?
Well, I still see we have a lot of work to do, but I do want to see if we could start bringing back discussions about emergency preparedness, because it is coming to that type of time of year, and we remember that, like, February, how many times the ferry got canceled. So-
That's the first time it ever happened.
But it could happen this year.
And
the signs
it's
are pointing to
probably a
yes.
little more likely.
Have you been involved in?
Okay, it's a meeting
to work
critique.
with-
Okay, sorry.
Right.
Okay, but just
I was just
that
saying that there
reminded me
wasn't
of
enough
something I
discussion
wanted
about
to throw
emergency
out.
preparedness. That was my
Okay.
critique.
Okay, so we need to add that to our future meeting.
Well, no, that'll be on the 10th.
We do?
Right?
Okay.
Why?
No.
Why? There's all kinds of people talking about that.
From a business perspective.
From a business perspective.
Oh, I see.
In Now we're not talking about it anymore. I'll tell you something about that.
Oh,
after
okay,
the
Jody.
meeting. Okay, sorry.
Thank you for having me to the first meeting. It's good to be here.
Thank you for joining.
Yes.
Lots
It was so
lots
long.
of things going on. So yeah, good to be here, be a
Great.
part of it.
Thank you.
To initiate you with a
Yeah.
meeting.
Okay, Helen.
It was good. Thank you for your help on the Alex thing. That was really awesome. Very helpful.
Thanks.
Maureen?
I'm not Marina.
Oh, sorry. Allison. No, you know what I was thinking
We don't even
was,
look alike.
someone should say something for Maureen. You want to say something for Maureen first and then say?
No, I can't think of anything.
Yeah.
We rambled a bit, with respect to the ferry, everybody realizes that on December the 7th, we have the little ferry, or January the 7th, we have the little ferry coming and it's staying till February the 20th.
meeting critique.
And I forgot, and I'm apologizing for forgetting to add that to announcement.
Allison, why did they take care of that?
What'd she say?
I thought this year
This
you
year
were gonna
was worse
guarantee.
than
I was
the
like,
other.
That's what Allison had to say. What do you have to say?
Oh, I love a
Okay.
bigger ferry, but they don't have any.
Okay, fine.
Good meeting. Looking forward to doing lots more work in January, which
Yes.
there will be, so.
There will be.
We rambled, and once again, our agenda was unrealistic given the 2 hours that we have.
2.5 is
2.5, yes. And secondly, I think your point about working groups, I mean, at some point, we can just cut a discussion and say, that's a working group issue, come back next month with the answer.
Yeah.
So I would cut to that's our default, working group, come back next month with an answer.
Good. Okay. Well, and I very much appreciate all
And
your
Merry
time and
Christmas.
feedback, everyone.
Yes,
And Merry Christmas.
Merry
There we go.
Christmas.
Yeah. Enjoy your families and hopefully some
Feliz
rest.
Navidad.
Yes.
And hang around and eat up all of Stef's goodies over here.